Listen up, Dungeon Masters. Your players are falling asleep at the table. What? Your wizard is going to use catapult to throw rocks at a monster again? How about instead of that, the wizard covers their body in rocks and hurls themselves? Now you're thinking like a badass using Battlezoo Bestiary, Elemental Storm. Filled with over 150 innovative elemental monsters, new elemental spells, and the monster parts system, allowing you to craft weapons, armor, and magic items from the creatures you slay, infusing elemental magic into them with 20 unique elements. Sure, there's classics like air, earth, fire, and water, but there's even weirder elements like music, space, and time. Doctor Who, Doctor You.
Wait, I'm a player, not a dungeon master. Why should I give a
Well, Yahtzee, how about a brand new character archetype, the Monster Hunter? Climb on creatures, target specific body parts, and weaken them. Or just grab a small monster and use their attacks against the big one.
Ooh, you sold me at big ones.
Best of all, this archetype can fit along any class. Fighter Monster Hunter? Duh. Monk Monster Hunter? Sure. Wizard Monster Hunter? Well, it'll set the difficulty up, but go right ahead. Elemental Storm is filled with over 250 pages packed with stunning illustrations, detailed rules on the monster parts system, and so much more for your Pathfinder 2e and D&D 5th edition games. Click on the link below or head on over to kickstarter.rollforcombat.com to secure your copy of Battlezoo Bestiary Elemental Storm today, and turn your table from slow and crunchy to fast and furious.
We are live. Look at that.
Hello.
Hello. And we have someone brand new. Well, okay, not brand new. Someone new to me.
Slightly new.
Slightly new. Slightly new. We have Stephanie from Stephanie Plays Game. It's the female version of Steven.
Oh, it is. I was named after my dad, actually, who is a Stephen. I would have been Stephen Jr., so they just went with Stephanie.
There you go.
Which I'm glad that I'm not Stephen Jr. It's a little easier to explain.
I'm glad I'm not Stephanie Jr., because that would also be hard to explain. I'll tell you why I'm named Steven, because no one... Okay, this is so weird and esoteric, but it wouldn't be Roll for Combat if it wasn't that. My mom is from Atlantic City. And I read an article about Atlantic City, and something in the article, this was back in the 80s, said something about how everyone in Atlantic City is named Steven or Steve. And I never really thought about it. And then I was on the boardwalk, because there's a boardwalk in Atlantic City, and I would go down there because my grandparents are from there constantly. And sure enough, I was hearing people call out the name Steve constantly. And I was like, huh, what do you know? I guess that's why I'm called Steven, because... everyone
that does sound good.
It's a weird thing. I was like, I guess everyone in Atlantic City is called Steven, so it's kind of weird.
Well, that's what...
It's also not that popular of a name. It sounds popular because there's a lot of very famous Stevens, like Stephen King and Steven Spielberg and Stephen Colbert. There's a lot of famous Stevens, but it's not in the rankings that popular, believe it or not. So,
see, in my birth year, Stephanie was the 9th most popular name, and at one point I was in a class with 5 other Stephanies, I had to go by like my middle initial because there was also someone with a similar enough last name that I couldn't go by, like Stephanie blank. So that got really great when I stopped responding to my own name.
Well, it's Stephen with a PH, because Stephen with a V is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yes,
I'm telling you that right now.
Although I think part of the reason Stephen with a PH is less popular is because it doesn't get to be combined with Stephen with a V. They're considered to be different, because isn't Stephen with the names. V like more? It's like at 250th, and Stephen with the PH is like 300 something, so it's less popular than.
It's less popular, and it's much older because that's the original spelling.
Because it's from the Greek, which would have been like a phi in there, which is more of the PH, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually from even like ancient, like it's extremely old, the name. But something of interest is now everyone calls me, because my name is spelled the same way Steph Curry spells his name. Mm-hmm. So everyone now calls me Steph, and I couldn't figure out. And I was like, why did everyone call me Stefan or Steph? And I was like, oh, Steph Curry, he messed me up. That never happened before, but now I figured it out.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
So I remember being really excited about him. I'm like, we're both Stephs.
Yeah.
I am too also a very tall basketball player.
Nope. Although my middle name is Mark. Mark. So I got a little bit of that in there too.
So we're all connected on this show somehow. So since Steven is like the laurel wreath or crown, and you said glicker comes from good luck, does that mean you're like the crown of good luck, or
yes,
like the
laurel
wreath for winning like most lucky at the contest?
People don't believe in luck until they hang out with me for a while, and then they see it's insane. Like,
people believe in bad luck once they hang out with me.
Oh, people believe in good luck when they hang out with me for a while. It's kind of weird. It really is weird. The triangle's complete. That's right. We have what's your middle name? Or Mark's not going to tell me his middle name if he has one. I don't know. It might be
not Steven. Sorry.
Oh, it's too secret.
Or Stephanie.
Okay.
I
was hoping you'd see the other thing is my initials were SMG. And that's the 21st, the 14th, and the 7th letters. So I got the 777 going. And SMG also stands for submachine gun. So whenever I see that, I'm like, yeah, I'm a submachine gun.
Yeah, and synthetic natural gas, right?
Yeah, that too. See? All these weird things about your initials when you're a kid.
That's NG, and you said SMG.
SMG. Submachine gun. SMG.
Yeah, it's totally submachine gun.
Yeah. Well, it's like when you're a kid in junior high and you got nothing else to do. That's what you do.
And also it's sort of like smug.
Smug. Yeah, sure. It could be like that. Sarah Michelle Gellar. Yeah, it could be that too. So,
could be.
There we go. Smith Machine Group. There you go.
So, Steven,
yes.
I'm really, really interested to hear your take on this latest situation with Wizards, because it's not what it seemed to people who don't have like the experience with handling these giant systems like you do. Correct. And I feel like you have a lot of a perspective to shed light on this that most people who are just users don't get.
So I didn't cover this last week in news because I was kind of waiting, and also I had a feeling. So very long story short, D&D Beyond has to now handle the 2014 rules and the 2024 rules. And I'm just trying to think what I can say without violating NDAs. I know for a fact that their team has been working very, very hard to implement the 2024 rules in D&D Beyond, like insanely hard. And when they announced last week that they were going to have, let's see, this is how it's going to work. You were going to have access to the 2024 basic rules and core rule books. You'll be able to make characters with the 2020. Let me start over. You'll still have access to the 2014 basic rules. You'll make characters in 2014. Homebrew content's not impacted. And then 2014 rules will have legacy mode for it's like a badge for classes, subclasses, species, backgrounds, feats, and monsters. Tooltips will reflect the 2024 rules. Monster stats will be updated to 2024 rules. And more importantly, items, magic items, and spells were going to all be updated to 2024. So it was a weird hybrid of a little bit of 2000. It was like 80% 2014 and 2024. And so their workaround was, well, if you want to use an old magic item or an old spell, just make it homebrew and add it to your character, and that way you can use it. It'll still be in there, which, from a technical point of view, is completely legitimate. However, everyone went absolutely insane on this last week, which is why I didn't report at it, because I was like, I didn't want to be in the middle of this one, and there was other things going on, and we had the D&D Direct, and we have our own Kickstarter. So sure enough, they posted on Monday that they, being WotC, is now going to change it so that, according to this, they said, I'll just read the post. It's like, last week we released a changelog detailing how players will experience the 2024 core rulebooks on D&D Beyond. We heard your feedback loud and clear, and thank you for speaking up. Our excitement around the 2024 core rulebooks led us to view these planned updates as welcome improvements and free upgrades to existing content. We misjudged the impact of this change and agree how You should be free to choose the way you want to play. Taking your feedback to heart is what we're going to do. Players who have access to the 2024 Player's Handbook will maintain their character options, spells, and magical items in their character sheets. Players with access to the 2024 and 2014 can select from both sources when creating new characters. Players will not need to rely on homebrew to use their 2014 player options, including spells, magic items as recommended. Blah, blah, blah. So basically, they're going to have both in there. So that's what they ended up doing. Now, I'll be honest. I heard like some people talk about this, and one person said, "Oh, can't you just flip a switch?" Okay, so for my day job, for the last 30 plus years, I built Fortune 500 technology solutions mostly for I build technology solutions mostly for Fortune 500 websites, and this is what we call a migration, or you can call it a fork. There's a lot of ways you can describe this. In terms of technology, this is an absolute nightmare. I'm like, this is as hard as it gets, and it's like, oh yeah, you could just flip a switch. I'll give you an idea. I am right now working on something very similar for a pharmaceutical company where we have something that was built 10 years ago and we've been using the system for 10 years. It's for speakers at a pharmaceutical company, and it has all their tax information in it. It has their contracts. It has a lot of training information. It's actually very similar to D&D Beyond in some ways. It has what drugs they're trained on and can speak on. Well, we have to migrate this to a new system that's going to have the same functionality, but it's completely different. And we actually have to do this because the database that this was built on is no longer going to be supported by Microsoft. We have been working on this for 3 years, and they have spent millions of dollars, and we're still not done. We are actually going through the final stages because this has to be done by October for us to do the final migration. This is not, oh, you flip a switch. Okay, this is millions of dollars of work and hundreds of thousands of hours. I mean, this is an insane amount of work to do this. And the worst part is, I don't even know how they're getting it done because the rules have only been around and finalized for a couple of months. So if I was doing this, I basically would have had to build an entire structure to support these two rule sets, have everything in there and ready to go, and just have dummy data. And then when you finally get the new rules, then you go in and quickly do data entry to support it. I can go into sort of very high level technology level of how to do this, but it is very, very, very hard what they're doing. And from a technical point of view, I believe everyone is coming to grips right now, and I'm seeing this on Professor Dungeon Master, I'm seeing this on the Reddits, that everyone is starting to finally come to grips that D&D is turning into a digital product. We've been saying it here for 2 to 3 years on this YouTube channel that I was like, D&D is going to be a digital product, and people were vehemently against that. I didn't think it's true. Well, now we're past that. Now we're up to D&D is a video game, and it's going to be using the same methodologies as video games. And the way video games work and software works, it's a SaaS service right now. That's what D&D is becoming. Mm-hmm. You don't go backwards. Like, when you get a new version of a video game, like, especially like an MMO, World of Warcraft, or there's no going back. Okay, it's like, okay, you literally have to go forward. You have to move forward with the rule sets. Now, what makes this interesting is that they're in a weird spot, and they obviously have people. If you're in the middle of a game right now and you're using 2014 rules, you don't want to move to 2024. You don't want to be forced to move to those rules. So they're in this weird spot. And in fact, last week's topic was we did some impromptu polling, and we found out that very few people want to move to 2024, at least right away. First of all the rules
that poll, Stephen, should not be used for anything. That was impromptu polling of a video that was called
No. That was not the one in our video. The one that we did for the Kickstarter that I've been doing impromptu. Yes. And actually, I've been also seeing on Reddit and other people. I mean, simple as this: if you're in the middle of a campaign, you want to finish up using your existing rules, and more importantly, if you're using D&D Beyond,
Maybe not. Me.
You can't have it just migrate.
Not you, Stephanie? You would switch over in the middle?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, well, that's why I want you on. But the thing is, people are like, oh, they're being greedy and they're forcing everyone. I'm like, you know what? It would have been a hell of a lot easier just to keep everything the same and actually not even move to 2024, or better yet, wait until the monster manual was out and wait till next year to do this, and even like have a delay. So the fact that they're even giving people the choice is, I'm not surprised, but I'm a little surprised. I'm a little surprised, and I'm not surprised. I'm like, I think they have to do it, but I think this is the last time this is going to happen. Like, they're going to give people the choice, but when they go from 2024 to 2029 rules or whatever, there's going to be no choice. Like, it's going to be, no, you're moving. Just like a video game. Like, you have no choice. We are moving you forward from now on, and you have to stick with it. Anyhow, that is the overview. And I'm just curious what other people think about this. Wow, we got a lot of people. Do like and subscribe. If you give a super chat, we'll answer it right away. And again, my background is software development. I have been developing software professionally since the 80s. I've been doing this a very long time. I do systems exactly this size, level, and scope. So this is my bread and butter. I know exactly how they would even do this. I even know some of the people on the system. I know what a nightmare it's been. And you know, I would almost, I'm looking at this very differently. I wouldn't pat WotC on the back, but the fact that they're giving you both options is actually really nice and not expected. I know some people think that that's unacceptable, but if you read the EULA and if you read the fine print, you don't own it. And if they want to move you to 2024, you can cancel. I hate to say it. I'm usually on your side, but I'm not on either side. I'm just telling you, like, that's how these companies work. That's how software companies work. And 99 times out of 100, they will just move you forward and do not care. They will say. So
there is a super chat. Tiger Eyes said, wow, WotC, Hasbro, another scandal. No way. Well, the thing about it is, because people have come to expect scandals and because people hold them to a really, really high bar, this kind of became the scandal or the thing that it did, at least on social media. Of course, most players never see like any of these, maybe not even the OGL. That might be the one that people heard of. But to be honest, like, I think our thesis today, or at least Steven's, and I agree with him, is that this one is kind of not really hugely their fault. Like, it's not that scandalous. Like, yes, I 100% do acknowledge that they said before you'd be able to do all of your 2014 stuff, and many people may have assumed that would not require you to re-input things in.
You have to use homebrew.
Right. I get that. And I also acknowledge that someone may have been able to guess that people would have been upset with that. In fact, my guess is that some people knew that. And they even they may have even said to their managers, right, I think people are going to be upset because they're going to want to be able to use these. And then the manager's like, okay, how many hours will it take to code all the magic items and spells so that you have the 2 modes, then you can do the switch and go back. And then they gave a number, and then they brought that up somewhere to a meeting, and it was like, we can't spend that many. We don't know for sure that people are going to be upset. Let's just try to do it this way first.
And I feel like that I feel like that kind of goes back to what we were talking about as we got set up, is like, I don't think people think that often about the difference between Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, because Wizards of the Coast has people to answer to, and those people only care about shareholders and not about us. So that's what I'm sure people at Wizards brought up, that people were gonna be pissed. And I guarantee that they're like, yeah, cool, like, shh. And now they're dealing with it because a lot of people were angry. So I feel like a lot of corporations are very reactionary, especially if they don't understand the subsidiary they're kind of overseeing. So right. I think it's definitely one of those types of things where I guarantee people spoke up, and now they're kind of probably sitting there like, what did we say?
Well, here's the thing.
I think that it's easier for a corporation to ask forgiveness and not permission. And in this case, what happened here, which I don't even know if I would call this a scandal. It wasn't that big, but what happened here, I think, is, at least in the modern corporate situation, a relatively healthy situation where, yes, they could have done the nicer thing to begin with, but they chose to take a middle ground route that didn't do everything as well as some people wanted. People spoke up and they said, okay, we heard you. And they fixed it because they saw that people were upset. I think that that's good and it's responsive. There's another super chat from Tiger Eyes that said, did Pathfinder 2e Remaster force their hand after the OGL disaster? And yes, Pathfinder was forced to do the remaster and do their own thing after the OGL to get the OGL out of it. They had something similar to this, sort of. I can say sort of. It's a big caveat because, WotC has a huge team that can work on this, and it's fundamental to their business model to get D&D Beyond subs. Whereas for Paizo, they have wonderful volunteers at Archive of Nethys who work very hard, but there's just a few of them, and they're volunteers to put up this database. And the Archives of Nethys volunteers did not have to integrate it as much as D&D Beyond. It's mostly you're reading it. It's not connected to all your other stuff. And they did give full access to both versions of everything. But I'm going to tell you, it took a little while. It took like a few months, I think, after the rules came out, before that was ready. And obviously, the number of people and the number of hours that can be put into it is drastically different in these situations, but it shows this was not something easy to do that could just be switched with the flip of a switch, even in Paizo's case either.
Yeah. Also, keep in mind that was read only. So the Archives of Nethys is read only, and I mean, yes, there's some hyperlinking, but it's read only. That is 100,000 times easier than what D&D Beyond is, because D&D Beyond is interactive, integrated, and what I'm actually more impressed is that Path Builder, man, and that's one guy, and
Red Razor, I don't know how he did it. He's just so ridiculously a machine. He gets everything done.
Yeah, I don't know how he got that done. I mean, I'm like, that is ridiculous. But anyhow, it is. I have a feeling. I mean, obviously, they've been planning for this for a very, 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 very long time. But they are. You see, this is why I didn't think it was as big a deal. Is if they came out and they said, there was really three ways they can go. They can either say, okay, everyone has to move over to 2024. Okay, that would have been a scandal. That would have been like, okay, that's kind of bad. But they were like, no. They said you can use 2024 or 2020 or 2014. You could either, I'm just going to say new and old. I'm sick and tired of those numbers. You can either use new or old. But the old stuff, it's not all in the system, so you can use it, but you have to make it homebrew. Okay, that's actually not unreasonable. Like, I thought that's okay. It's not great, but it's not unreasonable, okay?
But for most people, like, you're probably running, one campaign at a time. So you have to homebrew, like, 3 spells that are changed for some player. I feel like it's not that much work to most people to have to add in the 2014 stuff they still want to use as homebrew. And I agree. I think that was actually a very generous, normal way to do that because, again, this is more of a software. This isn't just like drag and click, like easy stuff to deal with. And it's at that point, if you're going to have, new and old, are you also going to add in 4E? Are you going to have this really bloated thing so everyone can play whatever their version of D&D is? Or are you going to commit to the full video game path? And are you just going to have the thing you have with homebrew exceptions? Because I, once again, think that's reasonable.
So I'm
going to agree with both of you that it's reasonable and not a lot of work, but
it's a lot of work.
But I am going to say this, which and Stephen, I'm sure, knows this with his work of creating systems for end users. But when you have a system like D&D Beyond, you're going to have a decent percentage of your users who are not power users, who are using all of the features and the homebrew, but know how to use only a percentage of all the features that are in there. Some of the simplest, like point and play stuff they want and need it to all be in there for them. And even going into some of these other more complex tools is something that they've never done before, and that they feel a barrier to entry or some level of intimidation in doing it. And they'd rather have by far a smoother entry access. In fact, they might leave the platform altogether over dealing with that friction. At least my experience in dealing with creating things for like large audiences.
So real quick, we got almost 400 people here. Let's do some fun. All right. So first of all, you see this, the player's handbook? I got tons of these. I just mailed one out. So if you want this for free, I give out one a week. And you get the coupon, and you get the little Dungeon Masters flag, and you get this little sticker thing that shows you were at Gen Con even though you weren't, and you even get a little die that I'll send you. You'll get all this for free. And all you need to do is leave a comment on this video. You can't do it now because we're live, but afterwards leave a comment if you're watching this later and say why you want the book. And every week I choose someone random, and I'll do it every Tuesday. So yesterday I chose someone random. I chose 2 people, because the other way you could do it is if you do that, that's absolutely free. The other way is if you pre-order this, which comes out on Tuesday, the Kickstarter, the Battlezoo Bestiary Elemental Storm, just go to kickstarter.rollforcombat.com, and I choose someone from there randomly. And by the way, if you pre-order for $1, and then if you back it, you get this dice locket for free. Is this one? Oh, no, this one.
A dice locket?
A dice locket for free, where it's a metal locket with Kraken and little dice in there.
That's cute.
Yeah, you get that for free. We're also giving you some limited edition animated tokens and a limited edition unique custom battle map that no one else is going to get. And it's not available during the Kickstarter, so if you don't do it, you can't get it. So if you want to do the Kickstarter, it's great, but you're not getting that stuff. So for $1, that's it, $1. So it's up to you. And you can get the $1 back, by the way. So if you want the $1 back, you can get it. So also, but you just have to subscribe to the channel. Subscribe and like all that YouTube jab, and you'll do that. So, however, have you considered making a version of a dice lock with Mark's face? I could. I could do one with Mark's face. I think that would be pretty funny.
I feel like you can do a very nice Victorian style, like, kind of enameled thing.
Well, it's actually metal, but yes, I could. I'll tell you what isn't. What is enamel is the have you seen our mimic, our dice mimic?
It's so cute. I have seen it. It's so cute.
Yes, we will. It's supposed to be any day now. It's going to show up at port, and then Mark, you can get one. By the way, you can get one.
Awesome.
And then I'll send you one. Oh, look at that. Stephen, Mark, and Stephanie are always a trifecta. I love and enjoy hearing from love and blessings from all. That's great, Agile Mike, except I've never met Stephanie before, so this is the beginning of the trifecta, if you will.
That's why I'm gently used. I'm new-ish.
I'm like new, Mark but not really.
Mark got to
You're like, it's always nice. I'm like, always nice for the first time. But everyone wants to hear from you, Stephanie. No one wants to hear from me, and no one wants to hear from Mark. Everyone says, I see everyone's like, what does Stephanie have to say? So you are so brand new-ish to the hobby. How long have you been playing D&D?
2 years. So
2 years!
I basically jumped in right before WotC blew things up. So I thought that was very comedic timing. I'm like, oh, is no one going to play this game anymore? I'm like, what's going on? So it was very funny timing. But yeah, I've only been playing TTRPGs for 2 years, but I feel like in some ways I make up for it with enthusiasm because I have already played a lot of games and I will play anything, any chance I get.
Oh, that's half of the battle right there. So what is your take? So you've been in the hobby. So we were saying how long before. So I've been playing for 47 years. And I play almost every week. So I'm a bitter old man who's seen it all. And I look at these things very differently. And this also, I look at this so differently because I'm looking at it from a software point of view. Like this, I looked at it so differently than everyone else that I almost can't talk on it because I'm looking at it from I'm looking at it from a software development point of view. I'm looking at it from like how this is going to affect them in the long run. I'm looking at this so differently. So, but you're new to the hobby and you've only been playing. Do you use D&D Beyond? That's the first question.
I don't. So I'm super analog. I have very bad ADHD, so a lot of things actually kind of are harder for me online. When I do use VTTs, I use Alchemy because Mark and I had actually talked about this a bit on our stream. I'm very much a theater of the mind DM. Okay. So I have much more of a tendency to use kind of images that support a vibe I'm going for, much more than like active battle maps and stuff. So I just need a VTT that will let me do that, and everything else I could even just send PDFs to my players. I'm a very like hands-on analog GM, so I am less invested than most on D&D Beyond issues because I'm a big Mike Shea Sly Flourish fan, so I've been listening to him since I started playing, and I think he's very right in that if you don't own the content, you can't really get that upset when they make these changes, because for me, nothing, and I actually have a video coming out on this either like tomorrow or Friday, but nothing WotC can do can ruin my personal games of D&D. They're just scaffolding to me at best is what any TTRPG system so I just feel like I come at this from such a weird place, which is why I don't feel as affected by it. And I also agree that I feel like this was an easy one to spot coming based on I feel like they've been kind of foreshadowing building this stuff out. So I'm also not as surprised because I have not had that many years in software development or anything, but I did like 2 years of coding stuff. And I just feel like the writing was there. The writing was on the wall.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I'm like, end of the day, if you have the stuff you need, all you really need is a piece of pen and paper and a way to chat with someone.
You play D&D 5e, right?
I do currently.
Okay.
I also play a few things, but
okay. But so you do you play or do you DM?
I both. I run all 3 of my current campaigns in D&D, and then I play in 3 D&D campaigns and 1 Dragonbane campaign right now.
So something else that I wanted to touch on that is going to start happening is that, okay, Mark, did you ever play 4th edition D&D?
I did. Not a ton, but I did.
Did you use the online character builder? Do you remember that?
I didn't use the online character builder.
So I
built it myself.
Oh, you built your own. Great. Anyhow, the 4th edition was so complex that it was practically impossible to build a character correctly without using their online tool.
I think I built it correctly, but that may be the exception that proves the rule, given that like if you can build it correctly, but then you become a professional game designer later, it doesn't count.
Dude, you are the exception to the rule. It's like, I don't know, the guy who wrote Pathfinder 2nd Edition on 100 role-playing books, I was able to do it. Yes, I'm sure you were. But the point is that 4th edition, I remember, because there was so many, when made 4th edition, there were so many interactions between the various feats and abilities that's what made it so complex, and that's where you could miss things. And the tool automatically did that. I'm going to change pace here. Magic the Gathering has gotten more and more complex, and it is becoming harder and harder to play in an analog method. It's not impossible, but because Magic Online does so freaking well and makes so much money, that they are starting to build the game more and more for an online audience. And by doing that, and by making the game more complex, it forces you to go online. And this is something I think D&D is going to start doing, whether you realize it or not, is if they start making the game more complex, and I'm not saying like ridiculously complex, but just more complex, more options.
They're not throwing calculus in yet.
Yeah, but enough
no sine
in there.
wave calculations.
Right, because someone said there, the whole reason you do D&D Beyond is to make it easier and faster. And if you look at their advertising is, this saves you time. You can make a character in minutes as opposed to hours, and that is the point. So by purposely making something complex, you're forcing people to use the tool sets that the companies make and use. This is a whole other topic that I won't get into, but it's basically where you purposely make things so difficult to use that you are forced to use online tool sets, and you're forced to buy things that are sold by companies, whether you want to or not, and they basically make things like overly complex. So I wouldn't be surprised that they're going to start making D&D not crazy complex, especially not at the low levels, but, well, if you do it on your own, it might take half an hour, but if you do it online, it'll take 5 minutes. And
so I want to get to a couple of super chats.
Oh, yeah, sorry
but
about
before
that.
I do, I saw some other things in chat. It looks like Sean from Delver is watching, and he can join, Stephen, if you want to have him in. Because we were talking about 4E and the online tools. It looks like he had something to say, and he's been in the chat. What do you think?
Who is he? I didn't miss that.
Sean from Delver. He was in the video with me and Stephanie when we did the adventure.
When Mark ran Pathfinder for us babies.
He was the one playing the gunslinger.
I didn't watch that.
He also did a show about underwater rules where I was on his show talking about aquatic adventures from Pathfinder.
I don't think I know Sean. What's going on?
He's a delightful person.
Okay, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
I have to make a. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Well, you get to the super chats.
That sounds good. I will do the super chats while you make the little card.
Well, send me his info so I can make the card.
Sure. Let me see. How do I even send info that's on a
in Discord?
He's in a mutual server, so you guys should be able to communicate with each other on Discord on that.
All right. Well, anyhow,
I will read the super chats while you're figuring that out. So
making my life difficult.
One of them is Big Kid, who said, my next campaign will be 2024. All my players will be sharing my content. If they want 2014 content, I'll consider if it's easy. Otherwise, that's a player problem. Yeah, absolutely. I think it depends, like, what game you're playing is going to determine what you're doing. Some people are going to want to finish their game. Like, I'm one of the creators of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, okay? I understand some of the advantages that 2nd Edition has on 1st. I still have a game I'm playing in that's Pathfinder 1st Edition that hasn't quite finished the final encounter yet because the GM is like, everybody has to make it for the final encounter. It's the last one. And we've never had a day where everybody could make it.
So you still technically need to know those 1E rules.
Yeah, so I still technically need to know the 1E rules. And so, like, I get it that people are going to keep playing the old rules until they finish their campaign. Maybe, as you said, maybe not you, Stephanie. You're going to switch over right away.
But I'm going to add that giant caveat in that I'm a very laid-back GM, and that's what things like getting things right and needing to use a VTT to make sure I'm getting them right actually is not a thing I experience. If I'm wrong and we find out I'm wrong or find out a player's wrong, that's okay. But I'm also like, I grew up in a family who house rules Monopoly and stuff, so I am possibly a larger exception type of person in a chat like this.
That's fair. I think a lot of people house rule Monopoly on the grounds that Monopoly is
Monopoly
really
sucks.
But that's like, I do this with any game I play, so that's what, like, people are like, why don't you, I have a video up on using certain rules from Dragonbane. People are like, why don't you just play Dragonbane? One, I do. I play Dragonbane. That's why I made that video. But also, I like to dabble with things. Like, I like to play with mechanics, and no matter what base setting I use, I am going to tinker with it until it's a Franken game of some sort, no matter what. So I just don't really get stressed about things like this, because if something's not working, you can change it and no one's going to arrest you. Like, as long as you and your table are happy with how things are, that's all that matters.
I don't know if no one's going to arrest you. Pinkerton's going to... See, that is like...
I'm not into magic. So
I know, but that's the thing. The best thing about the Pinkertons, I'm going to tell you right now.
Show up when you least expect it.
That will be a meme for the rest of our lives. Like, it's like, no one will arrest you. And whenever you say that, you're like, well, it's not really true. It's like for the rest of your lives, you're like, well,
it's just because that was the meta meme. Whenever anything happened, you would say that, and then it was just so weird when that actually happened.
It was like, oh, you're not going to get arrested. It's like, well,
but yeah, so far Hasbro has not implemented crimes against WotC division, as far as I know. So I think I'm still in the clear, having 500 house rules that I'd have in any other system also. So that's why I play D&D, is because I'm going to do this no matter what.
Game designers support house rules, at least almost all the ones I've talked to, and I certainly do. So let's see, there's another super chat from Tiger Eye that said, why not release all the books at the same time, maybe 1 month apart?
For the millionth
WotC's
time.
biggest problem is not this issue. If they always issues be they greater or lesser? No.
Okay. Money, and more money. Wait, 3/4. That's why they're releasing them in 3 different.
So Steven says 3/4 for money.
Yes.
But I'm gonna give a slightly less cynical perspective, even though he's probably right. But I want to give.
I'm gonna second cynical perspectives.
No, he's probably right. Maybe.
Of course I'm right.
but I have been there and trying to do the simultaneous release.
Oh, that too.
Of 3 books of that length is very hard. Even just 2, even doing like the core rulebook and the bestiary without the game master guide for Pathfinder was hard, and getting to the game master guide a few months later, like Logan and I, like it almost broke us at that point, because we were nearly broken already getting to the core rulebook, and then the game master guide, it was just even more crunch to that crunch. And we had a much more constrained release schedule than Wizards. So to some extent, making good products and also giving time to breathe is part of it, I think, too. But Steven's probably right that there is a quarter.
I think it's both. Also, here's the thing. No, does anyone remember, was 4th edition released all at once? Was 5th edition released all at once? I don't remember. No one's going to remember. Okay, once it's released, okay? It's a little bit of pain right now, but in 3 years, no one's going to remember. I mean, we will, but no one cares. Once it's out, it's out. Look at that. We got 2 people I've never met before on my own stream. It's working. Up, you're muted. You're muted, Sean. You're muted. You're muted.
Oh, he's muted.
You're muted. We can't hear you. Oh, look at that. He was so excited.
He's muted.
See, that's why.
While he's unmuted,
there we go.
I'll read
now we can
the
hear
last
you.
super chat. Anthony Peterson said, it seems Paizo is a smaller and leaner company, is more responsive to consumers and can sense their state of mind compared to WotC Hasbro. I think that, like, to an extent, by being smaller and having a union, it means that the people who are like working the jobs that are connected to the community can have a bigger voice and have more of an effect. Like, I know some of the people at Paizo who Paizo is not without having some things that happen of their own. Recently, they changed a beloved community license, and I'm sure they were trying to make the license like more expansive. It allowed for people to like knit Pathfinder patterns themselves and like even sell them, but it took away the ability to do certain things for free that the old license had, that were actually potentially could have caused some serious problems with beloved community tools. And there are people at Paizo who I'm sure like would have known about that and would have been like, we have to change the license back. And they changed the license back after people were not happy about that, right? And so when you're a bigger company and have all these levels and have Hasbro above, those people who are down there who are just like Paizo are probably like, come on, we've got to do right by the fans, don't have as much power at the company.
Okay, so who's who? Who's who? I know who I am. I know who Mark is. Steph, why don't you give us a true intro because you're new to the scene, and Sean, you can give an intro because this is the first time you've been on the show with me. So
Steven said it earlier. My channel is Stephanie Plays Games. I just kind of talk about random TTRPG stuff. I didn't have a plan when I started this.
We
so
never
I talk
do.
A lot.
No, none of us.
I just thought I'd be talking to 30 imaginary friends, and that changed. I talk a lot about things I either house rule or would potentially take from all of the other TTRPG systems I use to build Franken games, because that really is my brand, is Franken games.
Whoa.
But I just talk a lot about ideas for things and mechanics that are fun, and just try to highlight how to have more fun at your table.
That's Stephanie Plays Games. So do subscribe to her channel. She has fun videos. And boy, does she have a lot of energy. I feel like when I watch you, it's like eating a bowl of sugar.
I've heard that description before. I had one speech class teacher stand and wave his arms in the back just because of how peppy and energetic he was always trying to derail me. Indestructible
Boys here. I don't have a 5-layer overlay though. But now Sean from Delver.
Yes, we haven't met before, but I am Sean. I'm kind of like a pseudo D&D historian, not really. Wikipedia is my best friend. And pretty much what it comes down to is a lot of my content is around the history of the hobby, the people in it, and kind of the overarching stuff. That's why I heard 4th edition.
Oh, that is my jam.
Like, give me in there. Give me in there.
Yeah. It's history. That's like... I love. That's all I love to talk about. Did you listen to the When We Were Wizards podcast?
No, I began the When We Were Wizards podcast before I started John Peterson's The Game Wizards.
Yeah,
and now I'm reading The Elusive Shift. That's where a lot of my just like love of learning about like the roots of the hobby come from.
I've read all those books, but I think When We Were Wizards might be superior.
Really?
Yeah, because you always hear about Gary Gygax and what he was doing he was like, he's off in Hollywood, getting drunk, doing drugs, fooling around, being crazy. But you never hear of what he was really doing. Well, they actually say like what he was actually doing and like spending money on. I was like, it's like real dirt. I was like, okay, now we're talking. Like I never get to hear the nitty gritty. And they're like I think 14 episodes. Like the first 7 episodes, I've heard it all before. But then the next 7 episodes was like, I've never heard or read any of this stuff. And it was
I've definitely
fascinating.
I just started it while we're working on our move. I've been enjoying it so far. So I'm excited to get to those later episodes.
Are you moving right now?
Yeah, we're one of 5 billion D&D YouTubers that are moving.
I was going to say, I just moved in.
All of us are doing. It's the cool thing to do. I know your wall looks great.
Thank you. I sat down on my computer here to join, and there was a spider right here. And I was listening to your guys' podcast, and I was like, I got it. I got to get this out of here.
Spiders are good luck, Sean.
So wait, what was your take on 4th edition? Because I'd be curious.
Yeah, so the idea of 4th edition, and I think you mentioned it when I joined, no one remembers if it came out all at once or in different parts. It did come out in parts. And it released in multiple different parts. They released a whole adventure before they even released any of the core mechanics. I would think it was a conversion of an AD&D adventure.
I do remember that. Yeah, it was a little different for me because I was so back in the day when 4th edition came out, there was a convention here called Icon, which used to be one of the biggest science fiction conventions on the East Coast, on Long Island, and they came, like the WotC, they all came here and they ran the game. So we got to actually play 4th edition, and then we went to this like D&D Winterfest in Washington, D.C. in February, and we sat down and played with them all there, and everyone was there, everyone who is like, the top people. And then at the time, and I've mentioned this 1,000 times, I'm re-mentioning John Statz, who was one of my best friends. He was the first person hired at Blizzard to work on World of Warcraft, and he built all the dungeons. Okay, like if you play core and if you play anything original, the original 25 dungeons, he made every single one of them. And we would sit down and talk to them because WoW was so big at the time. And I know people like, oh, World of War, D&D 4th edition was not built to, like it was not supposed to be an MMO. It had nothing to do with, World of Warcraft. D&D is its own thing. It 100% was. We were there. 100%. I have multiple, he was there. I have multiple witnesses of us talking and going through it with them and how was their plan, because at the time, Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 and Icewind Dale was so popular, and they felt by doing this it would be easier to translate onto the computer, and everyone was playing WoW, and they thought it would be better as an MMO. I can go on this all day.
I've independently heard from Steven that MMO maybe not, but I heard the idea of video games where across so many different games that were all on the same system, the X was like your little weak attack, your Y was kind of the slower, strong attack, and then you might have like the super move. And the fact that so many games used those button combinations made it easy to grok and understand, and that some of the designers of 4E at the time were thinking, what if we did something like that to make it easier to learn different classes by having at-will, encounter, and daily powers that were like the X move, the Y move, and whatever button your super move is R? I don't know.
I'll say I came into this chat with receipts because Rob Heinsu, who was the design lead of 4th edition, actually brought on somebody named Andy Collins, who is quoted as saying in the original design documents that players had low attention spans and that they directly needed to take influences from quoted World of Warcraft. And it is not just like I know a lot of people kind of like try to, as you said, try to say that it's not. It is in the original design documents and the design principles.
Yeah. I mean, we were there because like when they met John, and it was like, oh yeah, this is the guy who literally, was one of the lead designers of World of Warcraft. They wanted to, it was the opposite. It wasn't like, oh, you're the guys who make D&D. It's like, oh, you're the guy who does WoW. We want to talk to you. It's like, they all wanted to talk to him, They were much more interested in talking to him than us talking to them. So it was a love fest in both directions. So
I'm a little curious though. I thought Keep on the Shadowfell, which is although the first adventure I played for 4E was the first adventure for 4E, but what was the one that they published that was a previous edition? One.
It is Keep on the Shadowfell. My bad.
Oh wait, that was not a previous edition conversion. Yes. That was a new one for 4E.
Yeah, let me see.
But 4E here
somewhere.
I do remember
Keep on the Shadowfell.
Yeah, absolutely.
May 2008.
Yeah, I mean 4E. I mean, it's funny because I still hear this all the time. It was a very, very, very good role-playing game, but it was a very bad version of D&D. It's like if you made that as its own thing, it might even still be around today. Like it had amazing ideas, like the whole concept. I still like the minions. I like the solo monsters that had different stats if they were solos versus regular mooks. Like they just had so many good ideas in that game. And even
sorry.
No, I was going to say, even like the powers, the at-will and the dailies, they were very easy to use and they were fun. The stat block was extremely well done. It was a good game. I mean, I liked it a lot. So
yeah, as someone who didn't start while 4E was happening, that's what I've read like the DMG for 4E and read parts of adventures because I do like to borrow things from everywhere. And I agree that there was a lot of really good things in there. And I think it's a shame that so many things kind of went out the window with the redesign to 5E. And I am very curious with like the direct talking about how in the new DMG, they're doing a lot more teaching people how to play D&D. I'm wondering how many things are going to be brand new versus things that maybe they are kind of re-explaining from 4E and tips like that they used to have that were really good for those one-off situations and how to like up single boss battles and things like that. So I'll be curious to see what they do with that.
I've certainly seen them at least saying a few times that this thing in 2024 will be brand new. That definitely was in 4E or 3.5 or 3.0 before. It just didn't happen to be in 2014. So
well, nothing is brand
I think you're right about that.
what's ever brand new? It's like every time they say it's brand new, it's like, oh, well, back in version, first edition in 2001, we did this. Like there's always something that's iterated off something
Stephen,
else.
They got a sticker. It says brand new. Okay.
Well, they say brand new. What they say brand new, they mean brand new to 5e. That's what they mean. And
it is brand new to 5e.
Right. And that's the whole thing. So, what's your whole take on this then, Sean? On this whole kerfuffle? Do you play 5e at all, or
Yes.
Okay.
I play 5e at least 2 times a week. I got 2 campaigns, one that I'm in as a player and one that I run.
Okay.
When you say kerfuffle, what exactly do you mean? So I know what I respond
From earlier in the episode, the whole situation where the spells and the magic items were going to auto convert, and you would have to load them in, and then they fixed it. So they did a lot of work so that you can do both.
Yeah. So coming from my background, which is in communication studies and theory, I have a lot of respect for the different perspectives of people and what they might think going into something, which is why when I look at this situation, I see what they wanted. I see what they intended. But what they tried to do and how they tried to do it ended up making it so people realize something, a very indisputable fact, which is when you pay for something on D&D Beyond, you don't own it. You're renting it. You are leasing it out. Yeah. And if they ever want to change anything, which they already have, they've done revisions, it's no longer yours to keep the version that you purchased. And I think that's a lot. It was a wake up call for a lot of people. And I even told my players, because we were planning on going into the new edition, I was like, hey, I think we switch to pen and paper or PDF or Roll20 or something, because at any moment, even if they roll back these changes, at any moment, they have the ability to fully change the experience. And if that full conversion of the experience hampers gameplay, then the player base is not going to react positively to it. Nobody wants their things to be changed without their consent or even their knowledge of it occurring. And if it just happened randomly without this announcement, I think that would have been even worse.
Yeah, but they didn't. You see, they went the middle of the road. They said it. First of all, almost everything was kept. The only thing that weren't kept were magic items and spells. And then they said you can still do it through homebrew. So, in my opinion, I'm like, I see where they're coming from. So, secretly, for them to say, you know what, we changed our mind, it's all going to be there. So that says, this always was working. Okay, they always had that. Because you can't just say that. It's just not magic. It's not going to magically work. They always had the capability to have both in there. But what they were trying to do is they were saying, okay, you can keep your 2014 characters, but we want you to use the new spells and the new magic items. It's sort of like we're moving you slowly into the 2024. We're gradually moving you in, and that's basically what they were doing.
Maybe they should have just started with magic items, and there wouldn't have been this push if they just did a thing at a time, starting with least important.
Right, and they were doing baby steps. They were easing you into it, but then people were like, okay, we're just going to give you the separation because supposedly. And the D&D Beyond Direct yesterday, the D&D Direct, they said the DMG has over 1,000 magic items in it. And I don't know how many magic items. Does anyone even have magic items? Magic items are such a small part of D&D now, it seems, compared to when I was a kid or when I played Pathfinder.
People have them. They just say that it's not a default, but people still have them.
Do they?
Yeah, I do kind of magic item consumables. I do weird stuff because I don't want to manage things. I like things with once a day uses and stuff.
And there's no economy. There's no economy. So how do you have magic items with no economy? It's
crafting is what I do. Homebrew crafting systems.
The horde drops are a way to give them. You'll randomly give them if you follow the horde drop rules eventually after a certain number of hordes.
Yeah, but no one does that. Wait, what was Sean gonna? What were you gonna say, Sean?
I was gonna say one of the big reasons magic items don't feel as important nowadays is because of how classes work. Each level, you're getting that new ability. You're getting that new thing that kind of builds on what you're already good at, or gives you a new ability that improves on things that you maybe were lacking in. Whereas magic items in the older editions, where you were kind of getting a little better at everything you already had, they defined your character. A paladin with a holy sword versus a paladin without a holy sword it was completely different characters, and how you got that sword, it was kind of integral to the character and how they shape it. So I think that's why magic items are not as important nowadays. I think players still like them, but their characters are already Marvel-esque superheroes trudging around the outer, wilds, killing owl bears. So I think that the magic items are a little bit less important than they used to be, but they're still fun to give players. I gave my players way too many.
I was going to say, as someone who plays a marshal, I enjoy getting them, so I do try to make sure marshals at least get some cool things. But yeah, that's what I'm like. If you're playing a wizard, you already have cool things. You have so many cool things.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is this whole idea then? What do you think is the future going to be? I mean, they're going to have to eventually turn off 2014. Like, they're not going to keep it forever. I think what they're probably going to do... let me think about this. Well, maybe they will keep it forever. If they're smart, they'll probably just keep it forever, and they'll just keep adding. They'll do what traditionally companies like this do, is they're like, okay, 2014's there, but we're ending support. So we're not adding anything to it. There's nothing new. Everything we're adding going forward is only going to be compatible with 2024. It's only going to work with the new rules, the new characters, so you have to start a new campaign or start a new character. If you want to still use 2014 and be frozen in time, you can. And I guess as long as they're getting your monthly subscription, what do they care whether they're using new or old?
It's sunsetting it gently and gracefully in a way that doesn't cause the same, like Sean was talking about the communications. It doesn't cause the same sort of friction or backlash.
People are still going to be pissed as soon as you phase things out. People are going to be pissed, no matter what.
Phase it so that they can still do it, though.
Yeah.
Right?
If you phase it,
but people just want what they want.
Exactly. If you phase it out when there's 2,000 people playing it, it's not going to be as an upset as the entire community playing 5e about to go into the new version.
Mark,
let
me tell you, how many people write me? Not as much as they used to. That ask me, why aren't we doing Pathfinder First Edition content? Still, because we develop stuff, and we're actually in a weird point too, because we develop Pathfinder and 5e content.
Yeah,
and we're in a weird place because we have to. It's even more complex because Pathfinder Second Edition, Pathfinder Remaster use different licenses, so they can't mix and match. And there's so little out for remaster that we literally can't use remaster. We can't use remaster because there's nothing to use. There's only 4 books out. Well, not as more. There's maybe 8 books out for remaster, as opposed to 1 million books out that use OGL. So we can either use OGL, which has hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of books, or we can use remaster, which has 8. Yeah. And for D&D, right now we're still using 2014 because we don't have the SRD for 2024, so we don't know the rules. But there's basically going to be 4 sets of rules, and now someone's like, "Okay, why aren't you using the 5th set of rules?" And I'm like, "Because you got to draw a line somewhere, man. I can't. You can't do everything."
Just no. That's when I would stop responding to that.
The difference is, though, Stephen, right? That person who's asking it, they kind of know they're coming from a position where the default is that you're not going to do it unless they can convince you. Whereas that's not quite the same as someone who kind of had their rules already on there, and then it might be gone. Because in that case, an action was taken that removed it rather than added.
That's true. I don't know.
Yeah. Again, going back to it, I'm like, if you are the type of person who gets upset when things are changed, you should probably pick something more like alchemy, where you have control over the inputs. Yes, it is more work to set it up.
You should just choose pen and paper. Play first.
I'm including that in case you're not an in-person group. If you like to have a little extras, if you like to have the math done for you.
You can just pick this up and you're all set. You got everything you need. I got my basic set here. I got my rules. I got my look at this. I got my
I said,
my keep on the Borderlands.
Person too.
Yeah, I'm all set.
For online play, it's D&D is far from the only option.
Oh, that's the remaster. That's the Goodman Games one. Look, I even got my dice chits. I don't even need dice. I just have chits. I pull them out of a cup. Chits, yes. I played so long that I had these, and I cut them out and I tried to use them. They're impossible to use. They're impossible to use these chits because they all stick together and they can't.
I keep trying to get one of my friends to let me make like the little like wheel spinner ones because I go on backpacking trips. Yeah, once a year I go backpacking and I really want to make everyone play like a TTRPG.
They have a metal. There's metal spinners that you can buy that do the same thing.
I like to make everything because I'm an insane person. So yeah, everything's from scratch.
So I've been bad and I haven't read Agile Monk's super chat for a while because we've had a good rolling conversation and it's like complimentary to me, so it feels even weirder to interrupt something to
compliment yourself. That's when
Mark,
I would do it.
You were the design lead on Pathfinder 2e Crown of the Kobold King. I want to thank you for that book. So I want to say, Agile Monk, that when you're talking about an adventure at Paizo, this is very important, whether it's an adventure or some other product. The development lead of that adventure, James Jacobs, did like 50 times as much work on that Crown of the Kobold King as I did as the design lead, because as the design lead, I was looking at like new monsters or rules that were added in the back, and any kind of like weird rules adjudication or unusual thing that happens during the adventure that I was explicitly told to look through, whereas like getting the adventure together and working out the plot and converting it from Pathfinder, figuring out like some of the things from Pathfinder first edition, that was all James Jacobs. So he should get your gratitude on that. I help a little.
What Mark also means is thank you.
Wow,
this is compliments, Mark.
You know, I never read this
also
book.
Thank you, but I would be remiss on that one.
Wow, this is a crazy layout. I have not seen a pie. Wow, this is. I gotta check this out. I'm gonna put this over here for later. I didn't even see that one. I have too many books.
Yeah, you should check it out. It's a classic adventure, and the new version is really cool too.
So, is it, how many TTRPG books do you have, Stephen? Yes, that's right. Well, if you say something, I usually have it. I have it either in my office or behind me because I buy or get everything, and these shelves hold a gargantuan amount, so it's very easy for me to just turn around and pull it out. I usually keep anything within the last few years behind me. But if you like want to do something older, I got to go into the
So topical to the older editions, Fryserburn in chat asked something I'm curious about everybody's take on this. So Fryserburn said, I doubt they'll keep the promise to add older editions to the Creative Commons because Fryserburn thinks it was a last-ditch offer because of the bleeding of subs. So when they first said, we're going to do it, we're focusing, we did 5e, now we have to look carefully, but we'll get the other ones back in there. I was hoping that they would want to put in previous editions, but I also thought like maybe I wouldn't think it was hollow, but I thought that like their heart was in it, but maybe like their mouth was bigger than their stomach and they didn't have like the people and the staff and it wouldn't be a priority, so it wouldn't get done.
Yeah.
But then there was a relatively recent, like a few months ago, I think, post where they just out of the blue, without being asked or pressured by anyone, pointed out they were like, hey, we want to remind you that we said we were going to do this and it is taking longer than we thought, but we're working on it and we're still going to do it. And the fact that they chose to do that instead of, they could have just said nothing on that topic and nobody would have cared for at least a little while longer. I mean, I would have cared. I like that they would do it, right? But I wouldn't have called it out. Yeah. Nobody was paying attention to that. That makes me think, my opinion, that they are more likely to do it in the end. But again, resources.
Well, and I do think one of the things they showed in the D&D Direct yesterday was, I feel like at least the WotC team is really trying to hammer home that they want more involvement with third-party content creators. I feel like that's earnest. Again, the difference between WotC and Hasbro, very large. So I am curious to see if they will follow through and if they are more inclined to speed that up to show the good faith efforts of the people who actually work on this stuff, you know?
I'm looking at it from a different point of view as usual. My point of view is, yes, I did remember they did mention that. They have also mentioned a few months ago, Chris Cox said that they have a gargantuan library of tens of thousands of adventures that they can mine. I love when you use the word mine for data and use.
Perfect.
Which
Promising.
It's promising. But that means that there must be some legal reason why it could be that was 4th edition was a different entity or legality, or there could be some reason. Okay, so
Stephen, you're wondering why it will take them effort. I can answer that. We don't need to speculate. When they did it in 5e and they rushed because there was, the whole pressure to do it, they accidentally put Strahd
I'm not talking about that.
Other names in there by mistake.
I'm talking about why they're going to even bother to come out with 4th or 3rd or 2nd editions. So every couple of years, if you've noticed, Disney keeps coming out with the same movies, but they're coming out with the live actions. So that's to renew basically their IP trademarks because eventually they're going to expire. I mean, you're going to start seeing, because now it's 95 years. It used to be something like, what it was like 50 years, and it was 60, then 70, then 80, and now finally they've stopped, and Disney can no longer push that anymore. So now things are getting into public trademark. In a few years, it's going to be very interesting, because things like Daffy Duck and Pluto and regular Donald and Mickey, like all that's getting into public domain, like all of that. So by continuously upping the content, they continuously up the trademarks and the IPs. There could be a legal reason, because if those were done under TSR or under WotC before Hasbro owned it, that they're going to do that. So then if they do start releasing things from 2nd or 3rd or 4th edition. So I look at it very differently. I'm looking at they're doing it for a legal reason, and that's why they mentioned it. So
for me, like the only reason to kind of mention it after so long, to kind of like announce like, hey, by the way, we're doing this, is if something has fundamentally changed in the way they approach it. My assumption is that they're already focusing on, releasing this new edition and getting all this extra content out, as well as kind of tying up the loose ends of the original 2014 edition. I think more than likely they're going to hire like an outside company to go through and start to skim through this material and put it out there. I think that makes the most sense to me. I couldn't imagine that they would put that on the design team, or that they would have like kind of like a side project to do that. But I think going through that means that there's gonna be a lot of communication between two entities, which I think will just add an extra layer of delays and time spent doing this kind of project.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of work, and they wouldn't put it in. It's this way. And whenever I see them do something like this, I'm always, what's the angle? Because they're not doing it for love. They're not doing it for fans. I know that ship has sailed. Okay, they just don't. Okay, there's always an angle. There's always a reason, and if they're gonna do it, there's some reason. I don't know what it is yet, but there is. So, who's gonna read that super chat? It's about me and Mark. So,
ooh.
Can you? Oh, are you on, Steph? Maybe Steph can read it, or I'll read it.
I can read. Oh, I get to compliment. You guys are going to read your own compliments. Wow, I read my own compliments all the time.
Well,
I love compliments. I will compliment you guys for them. Agile Monk said, "I must say this: Stephen publishes/produces amazing products and always puts more in them than that was planned. And Mark and the team of folks are all just amazing. Mark is in my top 5 most loved game designers of all time."
Wow. Can you name 4 other game designers?
Don't be mean, Steven. Don't, yeah, we have to accept this one. It's not one that was mostly about.
This is all like talking to my partner. Accept compliments.
Thank you, Agile Monk.
I know, I'm kidding.
No, it can be hard to accept compliments.
No.
Thank you, Stephanie, for forcing us to accept the compliment.
No, thank you. I mean, yeah, we do. I mean,
Linda always tells me I have to accept compliments more.
Yeah, I feel like so many people do that. Oh no, it's something else. It's like, no, this is a compliment.
I do. Well,
I get lots of pep calls.
Yeah, it's like we work a little too hard on our stuff though, because then it all gets a little delayed. But that's the problem. But
that's how it works. We make a schedule based on what we think is going to be we're like, oh hey, let's do one dragon book that's like 160 to 200 pages depending on stretch goals of dragon, and here's how long it'll take in our schedule. Then Steven's like, yeah, but I think I want to offer people 4 dragon books, each of which are over 100 pages long.
Yeah.
So now it's 1,000 pages.
Our schedule is blown apart by this, but
1,000 pages.
We can do it.
I can do 1,000 pages.
I'm a big accidental expansion of scope person. So I'll be like, oh, I'll show you how to fill out a character sheet. Just kidding. I made you a whole box. I made you a little booklet for your character so you don't even have to fill anything out. Expansion.
Well,
the scope of expansion.
Scope creep.
Well, it's almost well, they Fairy Pathfinder's done. And 5e, why are your stat blocks so big? The monster stat blocks don't fit on a page. It is such a nightmare. You guys...
Have you guys gotten a chance to look at Nimble at all yet?
Yeah, I've seen Nimble, but
I really, really like it as an alternative to Bloat. It's kind of very similar to how I've already house ruled enough things with enough extra for me to be interested.
As of now.
So I think I'm going to start my next group in Nimble and see how it goes with a lot of homebrew naturally.
Yeah, for us, we have to do, 5e and Pathfinder. That's all we can really do at this point. But
I was going to say, I just talk about my personal.
I said for now. I said for now. For now. I said for now. I didn't say tomorrow. Speaking of which, next week on the show, Kelsey Dion is going to be on with us to talk all about my and her adventures at Gen Con and the Ennies. So it was pretty... It was not that crazy. Okay, let's get real here. It was crazy. Me and Derek were laughing because we're like, okay, if this is what they think crazy is, where they were like at a bar, we're having beers and everyone's like, woo, and I'm like, this is nothing. but for geeks at Gen Con, it was crazy. But it was quite fun with Justin Alexander and Ben Milton and Professor Dungeon Master. And
can I plug something really quick that is actually entirely related to this?
Grace World Destroyer.
Stephanie, plug it.
Go.
Plug it.
Okay.
You're just going to name people he knows.
No, that was at the thing we're going to talk about next week.
There's multiple people involved in this. So this Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, Baron Durop, Dungeon Masterpiece, he has been hosting a Weird Tales Shadow Dark Game Jam. So we are going to be live judging the 5, I think, finalists, and it's a fundraiser for the nonprofit Develop Africa. So if you guys want to watch us talk about Shadow Dark and a bunch of people's adventures that they developed for this game jam, it's going to be a lot of fun. And Grace World Destroyer is going to be on there too. Huh. There's a whole bunch of us. Yeah, so I'm excited. And
when is
I
that?
love Shadow Dark. On Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
This Saturday?
Yeah.
Baron didn't invite me. I'm going to yell at him. Did he show you? Does he show you his book? He has one too.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
It's the limited edition. Only 20 of these were made.
Oh my gosh.
Baron has one, and so do I.
That's what I love, Shadow Dark, and I think it's great. So that's what it's actually an all ladies panel, so it's gonna be fun.
Except for Baron.
Yeah, except for Baron, who is hosting it since Kelsey is his friend. Is
Kelsey there too?
I don't know if she's going to make an appearance, but if we hit $500, she is going to match that. So it's for a good cause. Okay. It's Shadow Dark related, and I think 99% of us all love Shadow Dark, except for the 1% of weird people on Twitter.
Indestructible, yeah. So Kelsey, she did a second printing, and she sold out at Gen Con, and she made the special version just for her friends. Close friends and people who've helped her, and so she gave me one. I know Baron got one. I think Professor got one. Runehammer got one. I forgot who else got one. She only made 20 copies, so there you go.
I'm so jealous.
It's
very
nice.
Pretty.
It is very pretty. I do like Shadow Dark. It is very fun. And
yeah, it's a good time.
I have still, and she's run for me, and I have yet to have died. I have played Shadow Dark multiple times. I'm still waiting to die. Everyone's like, it's so deadly. I'm like,
Are you a more strategic player though? Because I'm like,
He's
I'm a
lucky.
running.
He's just lucky.
Okay. Well, that's why Mark knows I roll low now. No one ever believes me until they see that I just constantly roll ones.
I
I am bold and roll low.
insanely well, and people don't believe me until they play with me, and then they can't believe it.
Dang.
And then I play so chaotically that it is hard to plan ahead on what I'm going to do. So that's a big part of it. So
I'm jealous. What I'm going to do is die and always have like 5 backup characters.
Oh no. Well, I'll always do, but I do real crazy stuff. Just there'll be like a pit. I don't know. We were playing something with Kelsey, and there was like a pit full of garbage, and I'm like, okay, jump in. She's like, what? I'm like, yeah, just jump in. And I'm like, all right. And then it was like, and then I found the treasure because I was supposed to be like, I think I was supposed to. She made it like really nasty and gross and it was like a treasure we're looking for. So I think it was supposed to be like you have to really think about it and maybe like force yourself to do it. I'm like, oh, I jump in and look because I know it's going to be in there, and it was. And so
stop it.
Right, like I'm like whatever you think, or like when I played with Derek. And they were looking for loot, and we killed the monster, and it was a snake. And we're playing with like 8 people, and everyone's looking. And I look at Derek, and I cut open the snake, and he's like, "You find the loot?" I'm like, "Of course." Like, where do you think the loot's gonna be? It's gonna be in the snake. It's not gonna be in the room.
That's so funny.
You guys, I also, if you play for 47 years, you probably have seen it all.
You're more onto the tricks.
Yes, I've seen the tricks. I know the tricks. I know the old. Well, that's funny. I have played with newer DMs, and they're like, "Oh," they think they got one on you, and you're just like, "Yeah, I hate to break it to you. I've seen that one like 50 times already."
Not that clever after all.
Yes, I'm a chaos monkey. I am.
It's always in the snake.
I'm really bad, actually. But if I play, I'm really, really chaotic. Not always. It depends on the game. It depends on the mood I'm in. But I tell you, if we're doing actual plays at a convention, you'd rather see someone going crazy and being chaotic and being nuts than like, oh, I roll and I missed. All right, who's next? I'm like, no. We're there to put on a show.
When I ran for Steven, I can confirm that he just like robbed the place that the people were meeting. But I can also anti-confirm his claim that he always has good luck because he rolled really badly on robbing the place that they were in.
But
and he got caught.
I got caught. That wasn't good.
Bartender.
I know. I remember that. Level 0, no less. Well. Yeah, but then things happened. The plot got me out of it. So
that's true. It did. It totally got you out of it. So you didn't have to deal with the consequences, but you did get caught because you rolled like a 3.
I did roll poorly that day. I don't always.
Best kind of armor.
I can't always roll
armor.
well, but I roll well when it counts. How about that? Okay.
That was true.
Okay.
I think I'm like the opposite. Is I only roll high against my players when I don't want to. Like when I have really challenging combat, I get like 3 nat 20s, and so that's what I get in trouble for this. But I do fudge rolls if I really didn't think I was going to be doing that good.
Oh.
Again, I roll so low that I'm like, I didn't want to kill you. I'm like, this was just supposed to be hard but manageable. Not like, cool, you're all dead, goodbye.
No, we roll.
Let's do a panel about not like a giant panel, just like a real quick everybody about do you fudge rolls? So I don't.
No, I don't.
That's because of the fact that I can sort of get into the flow of combat enough that I can have like alternative tactics or just other things that go on. I have enough toggles to control that I can make up for some really weird stuff happening usually without having to do something like fudge rolls and like directly contradict what the dice are saying. My players like to see that the dice are out and that things like are going as they were. They would want to lose if the dice just completely hated them to a certain extent.
See, I think the difference is I bring so many new people in who are then very attached to their characters. It's like before I get to run people through something like Shadow Dark, because that's what Shadow Dark, Mothership, I'm not going to pull punches. But that's what like D&D, I feel like, especially once you're like, okay, I love my character at like 3rd or 5th level and you're new, I feel like it's so heartbreaking for some people. And that's why I'm like, if it doesn't feel like there's a good alternative big consequence other than death, I definitely chicken out. I'm like, oh God, no. And I usually regret it, if that helps. I regret my sins against Dice Christ, but
I think it's fine. I don't do it. My group doesn't do it. I think it's fine that some groups have a different social contract. If I'm with new players, I would absolutely give them hero points in Pathfinder 2. So hero points they can use for rerolls or to not die.
And see, that's the other thing. I forget to give out inspiration in D&D constantly.
I thought no one uses
I will not remember. I'll give advantage, but I will not.
Oh yeah, I have trouble remembering to give them out too until it really matters. So if I was just like, okay, so we see that natural 20, and that's gonna kill you, I think. But you know what? I forgot to give you inspiration like 3 times. So why don't like maybe we can call it even or something? We can figure something out.
We can wheel and deal on
So, actually, Delver, what do you do? How do you roll?
Have you guys ever seen XP to level 3's video on fudging dice?
Probably. I see a lot of videos.
The main ending of it, never admit to fudging dice. So no, I don't fudge dice.
Okay. Well,
see, I'm okay with being divisive. I'll fight people in a bar over this. I don't care. I fudge dice.
So for the last...
Once again, not in other games, though.
So for the last 6 years, I play all my games online, live, in public, so people see how I play. And I never play. I'm never a player. I'm always a DM. I do everything out in the open, and I never fudge. But like Mark, I don't need to, because I know the math, and I could basically turn any roll into whatever I need it to be. So I don't need to fudge the dice. If I needed the monster to not kill the player, even if they roll a 20, and even if they crit them, which happens more than once, and they do, oh my God, the other day, Mark, they're level 17, and they were fighting a level 20. That was their first level 20 creature against the Sorcerer, who I think had, that's right, Sorcerer, who has, I think he had like 173 hit points. I hit him.
Was it a Pit Fiend?
No, it was a construct. It was like a construct, and hit him nat 20, 90 points of damage, 180 points of damage with the death effect. And we're like, oh, that is not freaking good. But he had Breath of Life. He came back,
And see, that's the thing is I think I play with so many brand new players. Like I go collect people from my pottery studio, from all of these places where I come from a board game background, right? Like I'm a little more intuitive with tactics, rules. I really like kind of like Euro style games. But when it's people who are just like, oh, like these are little stories.
Yeah, no. Remember, also, this is the same people who listen. If you've not new to the show, I play with the same guys every week. We've been playing together for 30, 40 years, something insane. Yeah. These guys are the hardest of the hardcore. They've been playing for 47, 48, 49 years.
Yeah.
When he was 17th level and we've been playing this campaign for 3 years and he was about to die, he was like, good. Like he's like, fine. Like, good. I want a glorious death. Like, they're fine with it. They're not like, ugh, how dare you? None of that. That doesn't happen in our games.
Is he surprised that he could die against the level 20 at level 17 when in previous editions, by the time you were level 17, you could sometimes just steamroll everything?
No, because we play hard mode, like very hard mode. And when he was like level 3 or 4, he was taking lead and he walked into a gelatinous cube and almost died. And since then, for the rest of the campaign, he's always in the rear with the gear. That's what he is. Like, I'm in the rear with the gear. But I hit him with a ranged weapon. It still almost killed him. But I also know what he has. So, and I'm not going to go after him. Look, I always say this, like, if I really want to, you'll all die. I mean, it's like I can kill every character. You have all the tools, yeah, I can kill every character. That's not the point. For our games, they want challenge from my players, and they want to always get to the brink of death or die and come back. And that's what I do. I make it very hard for them. But then they feel like gods when they win, and they feel triumphant. So...
And see, that's why I'm definitely more comfortable doing that. And like Dragonbane group is a lot more comfortable with things like that. So I don't really pull punches in that one. That's a Mothership. I'm like, so much of the
fun
is the chaos of it going wrong.
Yeah, if you're in Mothership, you don't pull punches. If you're in Shadow Dark, you don't pull punches. Our Pathfinder games, we don't pull punches. I mean, these guys, they took flaws on purpose. Like, they actually they gimped their characters. Like, they're that's how hardcore they are. You know, they don't optimize their characters. They don't optimize their spells. They don't even optimize their attacks. Like, in fact, they were doing it so poorly that they were actually falling very far behind on the math mark, and I basically had to force them. So I'm like, guys, you have to start getting like better armor because you're going to die. Like, I can only do so much here, you know, because it was like they were like 3 levels behind on where they should be with automatic progression. So. All right, now we're really getting into the weeds, but you can see, I don't need to cheat. I don't need to fudge dice. So, I mean, we design games for a living. No, I don't need to fudge dice. So,
I was gonna say I can't pull any of the punches with my current group because they all hit level 20 about 5 sessions ago. For like 70 sessions. It's crazy, and I've given them way too powerful magic items. Some of them have like AC 27. And so I'm having to pull out all the stops and kind of actually I just did a video talking where we played with the developers of D&D Destiny, and they actually, it's Velvet Fang. They released this book called Ultra Beasts, and it's basically like health bars and like it's like damage cutoffs and special abilities when you hit certain points. So I've been giving those to some of my big bads since my players are at 20th level. So now the paladin can't, 157 damage directly to them and just wipe them in one hit. But yeah, you can't pull any punches at that level. It gets pretty insane.
All right.
And that's the other thing is like I play with a lot of lower level parties too. I'm like, I can't wait. I'm really hoping my next group gets to be that high because I really want to do like Theros.
Before we do anything else, I'm going to do a few things. First, I have so many of these books that if you subscribe, and leave a comment in the chat, and stick around. We're going to go till 4, so we have 30 more minutes. I'm going to select someone random and give you this book. I'm going to mail it out tomorrow. So if you want a book for free, if you want the player's handbook for free, just leave a chat in the stream right now and like and subscribe. If you want it, I mean, I won't have to give it to you.
Chats in the stream or comments?
No, both. The comment is for next week, but right now. So don't leave the chat. So don't leave the stream. So don't leave the stream if you want a book. I mean, how many do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 left.
Steven, one of those is that you're going to give to me next week at the trade show, right?
5 left. I got 5 left. But that's not true because I'm getting more. It comes out next week. It comes out on Tuesday.
Yeah, I know. So it's not like I'm going to get it early from that. I mean, I'm going to get it at the regular early, not the incredibly early.
Yeah, well, I'll give you one, maybe. Maybe, Mark. Well, I haven't been giving them out. I got, look at this. I got this one, and I got this one. Do you guys have them? Did you go to Gen Con? Either of you guys?
No, I got COVID and had to move.
What?
Oh, I forgot.
That's not fun.
Yeah,
I mean, it could be fun, but usually it's not. I don't know which is worse, COVID or moving. Probably moving.
Moving, honestly. I guess I've had very mild COVIDs. My first one, I lost all of my sense of taste and smell, so I started doing really weird combinations of food to see what was like fun. I got very bored.
Well, I almost had COVID and almost died, so you guys would have never even had this conversation. But I got it. I got it in 2000. That's a whole story. I've told the story. I got it in 2019 and no one knew what it was. So where I live was actually one of was the original, was like one of the first outbreaks.
It was like the second or third place period.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That had the outbreak in the United States. And
I got hospitalized as well.
I wasn't hospitalized, but I couldn't breathe, and then they put me on steroids. They kept doing all this stuff, and they couldn't figure out. And they were like, "What's going on?" Like they kept putting things. I just couldn't breathe. It was very hard for me to breathe, and this lasted for about 3 months. And then it finally sustained. It took about 4 months to go through its course, and then I'm in New York, and it was right. Actually, I know exactly where it happened because a whole bunch of kids went to Italy, and it actually broke out in Italy, and then they brought it here. And then it broke out here in my kids' school, and some of the kids even had it. And then later, when they had the first test, I had the antibodies, and so they were like, "Oh yeah, you don't." And then they look back like, "Oh yeah, you had COVID." They're like, "Oh, so." But when I was thinking, like, I could have died and no one would have even known, and it was pretty bad. I didn't get hospitalized, but it was pretty bad.
And so, did you remind me? Did you say you'd still pick moving as worse?
Because I just had COVID recently, wasn't that bad. Moving is way worse, but I'm going to tell you the secret of moving. Hire a moving company to do everything for you, including the packing.
No, definitely disagree. Get rid of everything you own, burn down your house. You're done.
Well, that you can do too. That you can do too. Well.
Also, real quick, I do need to leave. I got one of my final classes for my degree, but it's been awesome.
Oh, that was quick.
Here. Thank you. Yeah, I had a hard out at 1:30, but great meeting you all. Great meeting the chat and getting to talk about all this stuff, and hope to be on again soon.
All right, we'll switch over to
Have a good
3
day, guys.
people.
Take care. You can do it. All right, now we're back to 3.
I know that was fast.
The trifecta.
Let's see. People want to win books. Let's see. I don't know how many people win books.
I love books.
I'm with Ziggy Pro. Having also lost a house to a fire, I think that's not.
No, you do it at the end. Once you get all of the stuff you want out, that's what you do afterwards. So you don't have to actively get rid of things.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You just commit arson.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna say that I'm against committing arson.
Yes.
In real life, in a role playing game, maybe. So I think I've mentioned before that, like, right after it was my parents' house, the house that one of the houses I grew up in. So I wasn't there. I was working at Paizo, and like right after I told my coworkers that it had happened, I was like, "But I'm fine. We'll just keep going." And we were doing something about the playtest adventure for Pathfinder 2e, and so Jason, the director of game design, came in and is like, "Okay, so I've heard some things from some of the people who are on the adventure team. I want to bring some feedback." So there's this one section, and so you're in the ruins of this building, and it's been burned down with the charred remains left over, and we need to know, like, what skills that you would use to figure out that was a red dragon. Like, would it be Arcana because it's a red dragon that burned the building down? Would it be crafting because of the fact that you could tell from the char and the destroyed teddy bears and all of the things that have been destroyed in the house, that it was from a dragon? Or like, it just kept going on. And as the conversation got to be like 20 minutes, all talking about how burned and everything was destroyed, I was like, so I appreciate that you listened to me when I said I was fine, and that you didn't need to do anything for me because we could just keep going. But I've now realized that I actually did have a threshold on this, having happened yesterday.
It's a little
reached
fresh, yeah.
And so he was like, yeah, that's a really good point. Let's say that instead this was a situation with, like, aboleths, and you found the mucus, and you want to know what caused that mucus to have done things. I was like, all right, that's good.
Perfect. Yeah. Appreciated switch.
By the way, so you and Derek are now in the fire club. Not a great club to be in because Derek had a fire too.
Derek at least only lost like the garage, right?
Yeah, but he had all of his books and his old.
No, I understand, but that's better than like the entire.
Oh,
house.
no, it was 100 times better. No, trust me, fire's not fun. But yeah,
so I'm not going to condone fire.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I am a hoarder. But my wife, I knew it was different because when I first met my wife, I lived in a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, and it was packed. And she lived in a studio apartment, and it was completely empty. And I was like, how on earth do you live in a studio apartment with nothing in it? And I live by myself in a 2-bedroom apartment that is packed to the gills with stuff. So... But now
By the way, Steven, Indestructible Boy says he can join as the 4th person.
Oh my God.
Now we have a slot.
All right.
I saw it. He said it in
Why not?
In the chat.
Why not?
Chris J 2001 said, "Can I microtransaction to you, Steven, to get a pay-to-play copy of the PHP?"
No. Because I don't have enough.
Super chat, so I had to ask.
Oh, did he super chat? Oh, sorry.
Yes, that was a $2 super chat.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a good question, but I'm sorry. Because I'm giving them out as gifts. And also, there's actually rules against that, believe it or not.
Yeah. I'm sure he was kidding.
Oh, I know. Well, yeah, man. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I get it.
When you start getting money and transactions, I get very serious. I'm not. I don't fool around. So
no, Steven knows exactly what kind of jokes and silly things and cool free stuff he can do, and he knows immediately when it starts turning into something that has regulations.
Yeah,
remember,
there's specific
Steven
rules.
has said that he talks and calls to his lawyer more often than his wife and children.
That's true. That is true. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. I
don't think you're kidding. I'm just
no. I know. I talk to him every pretty much day, pretty much. But yes, at the I sent it to Indestructible Boy. So yeah, so if you want a free book, just leave a comment. I will randomly pick someone, and if you're still here in like 20, 30 minutes or so, I'll get your address. But you know what? While we transition him, let's do a quick ad while I get Indestructible Boy on. So hold on.
Listen up, Dungeon Masters. Your players are falling asleep at the table. What? Your wizard is going to use catapult to throw rocks at a monster again? How about instead of that, the wizard covers their body in rocks and hurls themselves? Now you're thinking like a badass using Battlezoo Bestiary, Elemental Storm. Filled with over 150 innovative elemental monsters, new elemental spells, and the monster parts system, allowing you to craft weapons, armor, and magic items from the creatures you slay, infusing elemental magic into them with 20 unique elements. Sure, there's classics like air, earth, fire, and water, but there's even weirder elements like music, space, and time. Doctor Who, Doctor You.
Wait, I'm a player, not a dungeon master. Why should I give a
Well, Yahtzee, how about a brand new character archetype, the Monster Hunter? Climb on creatures, target specific body parts, and weaken them. Or just grab a small monster and use their attacks against the big one.
Ooh, you sold me at big ones.
Best of all, this archetype can fit along any class. Fighter Monster Hunter? Duh. Monk Monster Hunter? Sure. Wizard Monster Hunter? Well, it'll set the difficulty up, but go right ahead. Elemental Storm is filled with over 250 pages packed with stunning illustrations, detailed rules on the monster parts system, and so much more for your Pathfinder 2e and D&D 5th edition games. Click on the link below or head on over to kickstarter.rollforcombat.com to secure your copy of Battlezoo Bestiary Elemental Storm today, and turn your table from slow and crunchy to fast and furious.
Look at that! You say his name and he appears. You're like Candyman. Or Beetlejuice.
Oh.
Indestructible Boy. Oh my God, he just appeared.
Oh, yeah, Candyman of the TTRPG scene. I don't know if I like it, but I'll take it, I guess.
Not the bees.
Yeah.
Not the bees. Someone's very excited they can play a Swarm Blood bee person. Did you see that, Mark? Someone was very excited for
Steven, I know you said that Swarm Bloods, which Jessica Redicott wrote, was one of your all-time favorite for our ancestries that we put out.
Very good.
Basically, you look like a person, but like inside of your body, instead of some of the blood and other fluids, there's like bees. Or some other like really tiny thing, or piranhas in one case, like very, very small fish that are just swimming in there. And then all of the power-ups and things that you can do for this species / ancestry are based upon, you can like send the swarm out to help but then you take more damage from area effects until you draw it back in, and it's got
I can verify players love being swarms of things. So that's
you're basically you're the swarm that walks. You're basically the worm that walks as a PC. It is very, very cool.
It's very gross too.
It's I love gross stuff. So that was the other thing. It's really gross.
Yeah, like what's the grossest animal or whatever that you could have as blood instead?
Oh yeah, because you can pick whichever one you want. You could have slugs.
It could be mucusy. Yeah.
I mean, I think weirdest would have to be something like, I don't know, chickens or possums or something. Maybe like badgers.
Possums,
but
those are a little
cute.
So it would be really, really small chickens and possums that could like flow through your veins. You technically can, because the ancestry just says you pick what you want, but it would be smaller than usual for a possum. But like a hissing, angry possum, that'd be scary if all of those little tiny possums are coming out. Do not
slander possums. Possums are cute, not scary. Hey, they do not want to bite you.
Yeah, I live in Oklahoma. We really appreciate them for eating all the ticks and stuff around here.
Possums
so like,
are good.
Yeah, we're good with that. I only wish they would stay out of my backyard. That's the only thing I ask. But
I have a really dumb dog who doesn't like try to catch things. I taught her not to catch cats. So she thinks everything is a cat. So she will run up to possums. They'll play dead, and I have to like gently guide her away because she's deaf. So I have to be like, nope, like move away. Stop scaring the poor possum that's now just like laying on its back.
Yeah, they're snake cats. They're
so good. I love them.
So, if you think about it, you are actually nothing but a swarm of bacteria and cells. So
yeah, no, true.
We are already a swarm.
We already are a swarm. If you think about it,
we're just reflavoring the cell.
Yeah, that's a Tales from the Loop prompt right there. I'm sure. Like...
Oh yeah. Chat has suggested spiders, scarabs, octopodes.
It's not so Sir Toby.
Kobolds and Chinese killer hornets. And one thought we said pasta instead of pasta.
By the way, I'm going to be that guy. It's not octopi.
I think I am.
It's octopuses or octopody. That's the correct plural, by the way. So.
Also, I am a swarm of pasta. I can eat like 3 times my weight in noodles, so I can confirm that's what I already am.
I probably am that too, to be perfectly honest. So it's not even an ancestry. That's just like regular.
Yep, just me. That's really cute.
Man. So Steven, how was all the stuff with Gen Con? I mean, other than the stuff that you're gonna get into with the talk with Kelsey, I was sad I missed it, but
remember what it was like last year? Well, it was 100 times crazier. It was it was nuts. Well, because last year everyone was just meeting each other, but then this year I knew it was like got to level 2 because last year I was just organizing like dinners and events, but then this year I'd organize events and then people were inviting their own people. So it was just like, I'd bring like 10 people and like 25 would show up because they're bringing people. So it was just turning into like a swarm. It was a swarm of YouTubers. That basically what it turned into. It was pretty crazy. Yeah, no, that's what it really was. It was like getting absolutely nuts. I can only imagine what it's going to be like next year. This year was it was very crowded. This was the biggest one of all time. And I don't know, I didn't really play that many games. I mostly just walked around and met people. And then at night we played Call of Cthulhu one night, and it wasn't so great. I was kind of tired and I left early. We played Mothership with Baron.
Yeah, I saw the pictures from that.
Yeah, and I accidentally killed Kelsey by accident. And that one, it was a pure accident that I killed her. We all died though, but yes, we lost badly. Yeah, we lost very badly. We did. I organized a game of X-Crawl. It was actually by Brendan, the guy who wrote this. He ran it for us, and we had Bob World Builder, Kelsey, JP Proop was in it. JP Covert was playing with us.
I didn't know we got that book actually printed now.
Yep. So JP was playing with us. Grace World Destroyer, Bob. I forgot who else was in it. So we played X-Crawl, and that was fun. X-Crawl's really good. It's one of my favorite games. I'm trying to think what else we did. I think that's all the games we played. I might have missed one. Did we play Shadow Dark? I think those are the ones we played. So at night we played those games, and then the day was just there. It's funny. I did talks last year, but no one did talks last year. This year I didn't do any talks, but everyone was doing talks. So I was like, okay, now this is the year I don't sign up for talks because everyone decided to do talks. So next year I'll sign up.
But then you
get
to go listen to everyone's talks.
Actually, yeah, I did. I wasn't so bad. I just listened to everyone. Ben Milton was with us. I forgot. It was just a crazy group. It was a huge group of people. It was too many people. Dungeon Coach was with us quite a bit. He was playing too.
I can't wait to go next year.
Are you going to be there next year?
Well, I'm not going then.
I'm really hoping to.
I'm not
I had a
going.
scheduling conflict this year.
Yeah.
If Mark goes, I'm not going.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I'll just take care of all of it, Steven.
You can figure it out. You figure out how to organize
Steven,
everyone together.
You were like the scheduling maestro who made all the dinners and
I'm
things
the
work out.
Nexus. I am. I'm the one who has to literally do all that. Because
you've been the Roll20 rep for the last 2 years. Let Mark get a shot, man. Come on. Like,
well, the problem.
I'm not as good as Steven is at actually nexusing the dinners into happening, so they probably wouldn't happen.
Justin Alexander
good at planning,
was with us.
but like actually hurting the cats, like they would have all drifted. Well, the cats would have drifted away from me, and I would have just lost the ability to do that.
Sometimes cats be that way.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was like we were talking because it's funny. This always seems to happen. It's like you go to something and then you're like, wow. Like you go to Gen Con and you play games, because that's what I used to do, and I used to pretty much just play games and run a lot of Pathfinder Society, and then you're like, wow, wouldn't it be great one day to actually make these games that I'm running and do this instead? And then you end up doing that, and then you end up not playing games because now you're making games. So in the end, you're not doing what you started out doing. Does that make sense?
It fun to meet with people though?
Oh, it's fun. It's just different. But the thing is, when I was in the video game world, this happened because I would go to GDC and E3, and I'd be like, "Oh man, I really wish I was in it." And then I got into it, and then it became very different because I was there to rep and talk to people, and I was constantly meeting, so I wasn't actually playing games or talking about games. And then I went to Gen Con and I was playing games. And now I don't get to play games. I'm talking about games. So it's like it's a constant loop of like, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. So
that's always like the rough thing I found. Like getting on the real third party and like just general design side of it is like you spend so much time writing this stuff, and like I mean I really have to schedule out blocks where I'm like, this is where we're going to actually play the thing, and it's not for play testing or anything like that. It's like no, it's just. Let me be in it, experience it, yeah. I feel like taking the time for that too is just like, similar to Steven, I've got like just this crazy, I've actually got Mothership right here, funny enough. But I've just got this bookshelf over here that I'm like constantly, referencing or like reading from a lot of. But like, yeah, okay. You see, you come out with a gold trim. Like, all right, I am not ashamed of my flat black box over here. Okay,
at least you guys even have physical things. Like I was saying, because of things like moving, I don't even own physical things half the time. But
because you burned down your house.
TTRPGs, yeah, I just burned things down.
So you have nothing left.
Someday, maybe I will collect TTRPG books.
Is there like a library? Is there a dark story there? What happened?
Did you miss?
Before you came on, right when you were about to come on, she suggested that the best way to move is to just destroy your stuff and then burn the house down.
But after you grab the stuff you want, so it's a premeditated arson activity. And then you don't have to deal with any of the bad parts because you have your stuff, you have the important things, and the rest is gone.
Mm-hmm.
That's my dream. I really hate moving, but I love moving into a new spot. I like unpacking and designing.
So we only have one conference left next week. I'm not going to PAX West. I kind of wanted to, but I'm very busy this weekend. So
are you not doing PAX U?
Oh no, I didn't say that. I said one more coming up, and that's this week. That Mark and I are going to. It's a business to business conference. In Indianapolis or in Indiana,
or it's in Fort Wayne.
Fort Wayne, yeah, it's in Indiana.
Yeah,
but
which is
I'm
not easy to get to, but you can do it.
Yeah, it's a bit pain, but no, PAX U, God, yeah, it's like 2 hours from my house. That one I'm going to. That's like nothing. And not only that, everyone's going to it. I mean, that's
the thing I'm trying to make. If the crowdfunding campaign for Vagabond does well, I'm like, get me out there. I'm like, I missed it last year. And like I had to miss Gen Con this year, and I was just like, no, we're doing it this time. Like I'm and plus like Amanda's got family out in Philly, so we're like, yeah, we need to just go make this a thing, you know.
And then we have Page. I will be at Page. Page. Everyone's going to Page. That's so crazy too, because that conference, there's going to be more developers there than I think guests, because it only holds like 1,000 to 2,000 people, and I think like 100 of those people are guests. So it's like the craziest con.
That's fascinating.
It's only the second year. It was last year.
Is this the Philadelphia Area Gaming Expo?
Yes, it's Page. And last year,
I could tell that not everyone knew what it was, so I decided to Google and see if I could figure it out.
It's really good.
The only thing that came up for me was like a gifted expert kind of thing. I was like, wait, what? What is this?
Actually, I mean, the word page is used in so many things related to gaming that I had to actually do 6 different Google searches before I found the correct one.
Yeah, if you look
Philly cheesesteak mimic as their mascot.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. It was 1,000 people last year. Yeah. It was their very first year, and like Runehammer was there. I was there. Professor Dungeon Master was there. Order of the Amber Die was there. Greg Gillespie was there. There was a whole bunch of other people there. There was a lot of people there, and that was last year. And then this year, everyone's got it's like a who's who of people going. It's a very relaxed convention, and it's right in the middle of January, so there's like nothing going on. So, and it's only 2 hours from my house, so I'm like, all right.
That's the one I want to make this next year is the North Texas RPG Con.
That one I heard is really good.
Because I mean, Kelsey was there. Kelsey's been showing off Shadow Dark there for a while, but it's more of like the kind of I say OSR crowd, but it just seems kind of like more of the you're gonna run into more like BECME and BX stuff there, but also just like it just seems like a general thing for like Reaper has a big presence there because they're in Denton, so like lots of minis, and it just kind of seems like more like one of those ones that you're trying to actually play more than doing big panels or anything quite like that, which I'm like, yeah, I kind of want to just go to one and just play for 5 days and be like, okay, there we go.
I got my fix.
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably go to GaryCon. I've never gone, but everyone seems to go. That seems very popular. So I'm going to try that one out. And
Gamehole too.
I've never been to Gamehole Con, but it's in October.
And it's in Wisconsin.
Ugh,
I love Wisconsin.
I like Wisconsin, but that's a trip, man. It's a hike.
See, I'm about to be back in Chicago, so I'm excited that some things are more reachable for me now.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah, for me, it's just that's a 24-hour drive for me. I could fly it, but I'm also like,
But there's cheese curds in Wisconsin, and that's really the most important part.
But there's cheese steaks in Philadelphia.
No, that's true. I'm very sad that I'm missing that one. I have a backpacking trip. Otherwise, I would be there.
When is Game
but you're actually like touching grass like all of us really need to. So like that's totally
October 17th, 20. See, that's right during playoff season, so I can't.
Oh no!
It's during baseball playoffs. Yeah. October is pretty much. It's like. Because if that takes precedent over anything, is going to baseball playoff games. So, like that is.
What's it like to have teams that have a chance at being there?
Well, I'm a Met fan, so it doesn't happen that often. But when it does,
fan.
Oh, you're a what?
A Cubs fan.
The Cubs won the World Series. The Cubs are in it.
How many other World Series?
I know, but the Cubs are in it. So the Cubs actually are in a winning streak. They're catching up.
They were on a losing streak.
No, but right now they're catching up. They're only like 4 games out.
Fans call this the great fake out. It happens every year just to get you in the mindset of there's a chance before your heart is broken.
No, you don't tell them. I know. No, they have a chance. They have a chance. It's gotten very tight. The reach has gotten extremely. It's really getting tight.
Sports ball. Yay.
Well, yeah, you're talking. I have season tickets, and like I go to.
My partner's family has season tickets, so that's the only reason I know as much.
I go to a lot. I go to a lot of sporting events. In fact, I went to the U.S. Open 2 days ago. My wife's there right now. I'm going Friday. I go to basically a sporting event almost every week. So.
See, and I think for people who aren't into sports, I think they miss the fact that like sports games, like in person, are kind of a social event. And it's about the snacks and the camaraderie.
Oh, completely.
Yeah, no, I love. See, but for me, my dad was a boxer, so like I'm more.
Oh, that's super cool.
I'm more into that side of
That's different.
So I
Do
think
you
if
box?
No, he taught me a little bit, but it was more about like, okay, if a bully's doing this is what you do.
Yeah.
But no, like
That's what I teach kids to do when I hear they're getting bullied. I'm like, here's how you punch someone.
Yeah. See,
I'm like, I'm going to tell you the things your parents don't.
Yeah. my dad was 6'7", and
yeah,
like,
I'm thinking you're really tall, so your dad must be huge.
Oh, I forgot you are tall.
I'm 6'3". But
that's giant.
It's pretty tall.
I'm 5'4".
Yeah.
See, I have to I have the camera pan down, and I'm like,
well, I've met you. You're one of you and Dungeon Coach. You're like the two tallest geeks around.
Jesse Jordak has got everyone beat.
Oh, well, he is a mountain. He is gargantuan. Yeah, he's gargantuan.
I love all the pictures of him crouching down to talk to people. That is the singular, most adorable thing I've ever seen anyone do, is be like, oh, don't hurt your neck.
He's way too big. He's way too big.
It's so cute. It's adorable.
But actually, the guys in my group, Seth is 6'6". Actually, half the guys in my group are like 6'6", 6'4", 6'5". Like, they're all really tall too. Now I think about it, we don't meet in person anymore.
I come from a family of tall people.
Yeah, well, I'm not. I'm short. I'm like
me too.
5'6".
About it.
But my son is 6 feet tall. So
yeah, don't say that. Don't say that you're short. Just say that you're dwarf pilled.
Well, no, I'm not short, and I'll tell you why. See, Mark is short, even though Mark and I are the same height. Mark is thin and he's just you're a thin man. Which is nice. You're thin. You're fit. You're in good shape. I am a very broad, very large person, but not it's like fat. It's actually called athletic build, and that's where your shoulders are disproportional to your waist.
You can say stout.
No, it's actually called no. Well, no, it's not stout. It's not stout. So my brother's a costume designer. It's called athletic. So athletic build is where your shoulders are. It's like there's a dimension to your body, and if your shoulders are disproportionately larger than your waist, then you're what's called athletic build.
Yeah. I was a fashion design student. That is, they do call it athletic.
That's correct. It's called
you've got that same athletic build as like Shaquille O'Neal,
Well, here's the funny thing. It's not stocky. No, but the funny thing is, so it's very, very, very hard to buy suits because my shoulder, so for my height, my shoulders are supposed to be 4 inches, closer than they are. But almost all Hollywood stars have athletic builds, so
maybe less Shaquille O'Neal athletic build and more of a Thorin, Oakenshield or Brunor Battlehammer.
Build. I love Thorin.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's like exactly. Actually, Wolverine is exact example. Like he's short, but he's that huge. He's very wide. So people don't think I'm short when they meet me because I'm so wide, but I am. So there you go. What's up?
Fair enough.
I'm not even used to. I'm not even short. I don't even know what I call it myself.
The shorter you are, the less that vertically the blood has to flow throughout your body, and so
the
therefore,
longer you live.
Yes, that's right, that Stephanie.
That's. I'm gonna live past 100. If it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be so angry. If anything takes me out before then, I'm gonna be pissed.
Well, all my friends that are tall. I mean, we also they live in Manhattan, live in New York, and they hate going to the theater. They hate going to the movies. They hate flying on planes. I mean, is that a problem with you, Taryn, or no?
Well, I mean, I like car seats and stuff are a little bit annoying. But I'm also dating, Amanda's 5'4". So
my height, that's a big height discrepancy.
Well, I'll be getting in the car, and then suddenly I'm like, oh my god,
Well, that's what happens. Seth, the guy who's the player, he's 6'6", and his wife is 5 feet tall.
Mm-hmm.
So how about that for height discrepancy?
My poor brother would do that with cars all the time because we shared a car for a while, and that's what he was very nice, but he'd be like, Stephanie, why aren't you doing this? Just send it back when you're done.
Yeah, it was. There was a day where, I mean, me and Amanda were talking about it, and I tried to walk on her level for a day, and I was like, "No, this is bad. I don't know how you get the ramen out of the cabinet, man. Like this sucks."
You climb everything. I still have to climb on counters once in a while, like a kid.
Yeah.
See, to me, the step stool just kind of gets in the way, and I'm like, I accidentally kick it at night when I'm like just going in to go get like water or whatever. But for her, it's like, no, she can't cook unless that's around. All right.
Yeah.
So what was the name of the Texas? It's like the Texas North Convention.
Oh yeah, it's
North
like
Texas RPG Con.
I think that's right. You okay, Mark? Yeah, he's all right. Yeah, he's fine. It's just I think Amanda just pulled up and he's like, yeah, North Texas RPG Con. It happens. It looks like June, usually the first or second week of June, and yeah, that's the one where you're gonna see mostly. I know a lot of manufacturers go there. That's like, I mean, the people who kind of tried to get me to go. Oh, hey, okay, bud, okay. Frog God Games was asking me if I would go last year, and you know, I know Green Ronin, so it's kind of like that. You're not going to get like a bunch of the like big publishers there, so it's a bit smaller of a crowd. They're usually more into the, you know, old schooler dungeon crawl kind of vibe, but also because Reaper has a big presence there, minis are a bigger thing over there. But yeah, that's, you still see a lot of people that wind up going. They still get, yeah, a lot of special guests are still there. Zeb Cook is going this, or I guess went this last year. But yeah, it looks small. It's a bit quaint, but I kind of like that vibe. Gen Con was a lot of fun. Gen Con was a blast, and I can't wait to do it again. But I can't help but remember that like we did virtually zero like gameplay.
Yep.
And it was a lot of just kind of walking around, going to parties, and which was fun.
You're like, oh, it's so horrible meeting people and going out to dinner and parties.
It's mentally taxing.
Yeah,
like,
it's exhausting.
Social interactions.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
Plus,
it's a hard life.
It's exhausting.
Well, and if you're trying to go to a convention and you want like your first one to be really cool, I would recommend starting smaller because like Gen Con is a bit of a nightmare.
Oh no. Gen Con's
the small ones are much more intimate. You can actually talk to the guests usually more often at a small convention. You can get to know people. Gen Con can be intimidating.
Gen Con's way too much.
If you're like me, like Gen Con is actually too much. And I can say this very clearly that of all of the tasks that when I worked at Paizo that I was assigned to do for the company, usually I thought that I did like great at that task or good, or at least like pretty well. But one that I thought I just could not do was that members of the design team at, for a certain period of time were told, okay, everybody has to work at the booth, but you guys, you have like an hour, go to the hall and just look at stuff so that you can like learn about design from that. And let me tell you, that is like, for me, the most impossible thing I was ever asked to do. And I failed it completely the first time that I tried to do it. I didn't learn anything. I eventually just realized from my mistakes, and I tried to like ask other designers, like, what do you guys do? And then some of them were like, well, I just knew that I wanted to go to this one. And I was like, but there are so many, and they all look so good. And even the ones I've never heard of look so earnest about it. And there's great art and something I've never seen. And I just get pulled everywhere. And I don't know, an hour is not enough. So eventually by the last time it happened, I was just doing pre-research by a massive amount. I was spending additional hours researching everything and being like, okay, I want to hit this. I want to hit that. I want to hit something else.
Strategic plan.
Yeah, it wasn't just explore like what I was told. Just explore the hall. You'll learn something. Like, no, it's too much.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, but like people in the chat are saying, so like I had the kind of nightmare happen where we had, you know, housing and stuff mostly figured out. And then it got canceled about a month and a half before the convention.
Your housing got canceled?
Yeah, well, this happened with a lot of people actually. Hype Goblin, Sarah, she wound up having her Airbnb got canceled without her knowing. Yeah, they were on the way to Gen Con. She did a whole thing about this over on her channel. They were on the way there and got a notification from Airbnb that the host had canceled, and they had to go and book a hotel, which, like, if you all have seen any of the prices for hotels at Gen Con, they wound up selling out like $2,400 for it. Whereas originally they were paying like $500 for an Airbnb. He just went outside. I am so sorry. He is just like all whiny right now.
Fine. Everybody always wants to see the pets on the streets. But yeah, for me, whenever mine canceled, and the way that I knew like I couldn't make it this year, I tried to book another Airbnb. It was going to be $24,000.
That's insane.
Yeah, come on.
Wait, $24,000
for the 4-night stay. The one that I got quoted to get it was a 2-bedroom with a kitchen, bathroom, all that stuff.
$6,000 a night.
A night, yeah. Now I know you can get there were other options, but for what we were wanting to get, it was $24,000.
Yeah, well, that's the one I
great.
That was also, like a month right before the convention.
Yeah.
There's a lot of prices that just absolutely shoot up. But yeah, the way that you should do Gen Con is plan it a year ahead. Get the hotels as soon as you can get them. Because that hotel lottery thing seemed to have gotten a lot of people messed up this year. But yeah, these days I learned, we plan this stuff out the year before.
Yeah. That's what I think I started looking at, like, what are the cost of nearby campgrounds and how far would it be to travel? I'm like...
I think that's what Laura and Jesse did this year. They actually stayed like an hour away from the convention. And I'm like, yeah, the drive is not great, but like...
Yeah, I'm not paying that. Yeah, no, that's insane. That's, I hate that. That's what it's a principles thing. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Well,
that's so messed up that I can't believe they canceled on you.
I can't believe it. Like, that's so scummy. How are they allowed to just cancel and then book someone else at a higher price like that? There must be something in the contract that, like...
That's part of what we were wondering is like, how can they just do that? But like I said, it happened to Colby from D4 Deep Dive, and it happened to Sarah at the Hype Goblin. So, luckily they were both able to get hotels, and stuff seemed to have gotten sorted out. But yeah, for us, I was just like, I budgeted to have a hotel that was like, $600 for the stay, and then it went to, oh, cool, like, well, what can you do? So
if your airline cancels on you, they have to do something. So, like, if your hotel cancels on you like that, especially to like scalp it up to someone else for a higher price than you locked in, they should have to pay to get you accommodations or something.
You would think, right? Like, but so far the Airbnb's policy appears to be we just refund you the original booking rate. So, like, because Airbnb, they're just a middleman. They're not like, the main representative. So that's always the risk you're going to run into is like, oh, okay, well, it's not the company I'm mad at. It's this one guy.
This individual.
So they get to be blameless in it. And it's like, well, no, you guys could have a better policy for this, but Yeah. So, but yeah, next year, we definitely know. I think next year the thing is going to be just like, we've got to get a hotel ASAP. Like, they're just so much closer, and like,
plus, like 5 people can sleep on the floor. Air mattresses. Just pile in the people who got canceled on that year.
Yeah, I highly recommend. The other mistake we made last year was driving, because we thought we were saving money on driving. Well, parking for Gen Con was like $44 every single time. So over 4 days, I was like, oh, we could have just flied and taken lifts for like $10 a piece.
Yep.
What? Like, oh yeah, we lost money by driving. It was.
That's annoying.
The wildest part about it is just that, like, those prices are so high compared to the badge price at Gen Con, but I've had such bad experiences with the staff at Gen Con when something went wrong with the badges. Like, and it's like one time my little brother's badge got stolen in the bathroom, and they were like, tough luck. And they kicked him out in the middle of a game. He was playing. The GM was like, let him finish the game. It got stolen. They're like, no, He was like 13. And then another time, they just didn't send me the badges. So I came with my receipt. And I was like, okay, it never reached me. I've got my receipt. I've got all the information. The people, the volunteers were like, oh, sure, that makes sense. You got everything. Because I had like 10 documentations. Let me put this in. They're like, well, the system's not working. That's weird. So they called their boss, who called their boss, who called their boss, until they got to the head. And it was this lady. And she was just like, oh, yeah. So the reason it doesn't work is because you can't get it. And it's like, why not? It's like, well, I think you just gave your badges to someone else, and you're just trying to steal a second copy.
Oh,
I was like, do you know how expensive the hotel and the flights are compared to this badge? No one would do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. Why would you not have a customer service policy where you just trust the customer a little bit on that regard, just to treat the customer nicely, just in benefit of the doubt? I was like, how many people do you think would even do something like that? And she's like, maybe 50% of everyone.
Huh.
Wow.
Well,
wild.
Well, that's terrible customer service.
Yeah, and see, that's another thing for me. I'm like, I kind of just prefer the like smaller cons in a way. Like, one of the ones that I did was Name Your Game Expo right before the pandemic, and it is a very small con that happens here in Oklahoma. It's literally like they rent out a hotel ballroom, and it's a bunch of dorks playing Magic the Gathering, cosplaying, and so it's like the big con events, but on a smaller scale. And I had a blast with that. We played like AD&D Tomb of Horrors. I was running a literally just a beholder arena fight for people to come in and like, hey, you've never fought this higher level monster? Here you go, and we're just gonna fight a beholder in its lair for 2 hours. So just fun things like that, and you can actually get to everything.
I like that low-key intimate vibe.
All right, so while you guys were talking, I just reserved my a 2-bedroom 2-bathroom condo in downtown Indianapolis, right next to the convention center. So
well,
they don't cancel.
They're going to cancel you. Yeah,
they're going to. Yeah, that's the thing, man. Even if you reserve it right now,
I'm like 5 people per hotel room.
I'm not going to cancel. It's a penthouse apartment. There we go, with a balcony. Sleep 6 people. Look at that. $240 a night.
You're bold. I don't trust Airbnb.
What's your backup plan when they cancel you and then sell for $24,000 a night?
Call my lawyer.
We're gonna go find Steven sleeping in a soccer field out in Indianapolis.
It's never happened to me. I had an Airbnb this year.
Actually, ask Alan now to make sure that the contract is airtight. Because if you come back later and find out that it wasn't,
I got an Airbnb this year. It was $800 for 5 or 6 nights, and then Derek stayed with me, and it was amazing. It was brand new, and they didn't cancel. It was fine. Actually,
just because it didn't happen this time doesn't mean it won't happen next time. Taryn told you, he warned you.
You guys are so.
I'm waiting for Steven's Twitter post next year.
Where he's like, how could I have known that this could happen? Nobody ever warned me.
That's it. See, I don't sweat the small stuff. That's the difference.
Sleeping is the small stuff.
Sleeping is really important.
Over your head.
You have no idea. You guys have not met me. I can't even think of stuff like I've seen stuff that you can't imagine, and it doesn't bother me. Like, I can always find a way out. To me, it's just a personal challenge. If I ended up getting there and they're like, oh, everything's gone and there's no hotels, I'm like, interesting. I will find something. I promise you. I was like,
that's what Lo Rosario in chat did mention. Steven has great luck. He has told us. So unlike the me and Taryn, I
am like Domino. I really don't sweat it. I seem to find a way out of everything. So.
Yeah, but if it's like Domino, then everyone else around you is unlucky, and that's like
that's not my problem.
I am unlucky. Yeah. Steven absorbed all the luck.
Why
would you do that?
Maybe you did. Maybe that's why everyone's Airbnbs got canceled, because Steven was. Mark, now you have to go next year and Steven can't. All right, we have to test this theory.
Yeah, we'll see if everybody is fine. Or if my bad luck means that I get canceled, but then it spreads good luck to everybody else.
I got my room just now. It's actually, no, but it's through Expedia. It's not through an Airbnb.
Oh, well, maybe
there you go.
Expedia you could trust more. I don't know.
No,
if you
that
trust-
I don't
Expedia. I'm not too worried about Expedia, and they have a number. So that's the other thing. You can call them. So when something happens, so I've had this happen. Like for example, we had this thing where we went to the U.S. Open and we got really good seats, and I mean like 5th row, and it turned out that our tickets were scalped. They were counterfeit. But the rule is if StubHub sells you counterfeit tickets, they have to give you tickets that are the same or better for the same price. So we ended up getting like 2nd row instead the same day. So we're like, actually, we were glad. We're like, good. Good thing they were stolen. We went from 5th row to 2nd row.
That would ever happen to me. This is not relatable content.
This is just the Stephen Glicker, like, charmed life story.
Al, I hate to break it to you. That's like every day of my life, more or less.
Yeah, next we're gonna hear about like some old guy that just was like, you know what, I don't need my hot rod anymore. 16-year-old Stephen Glicker. Here's the key to it. You look like a nice little young man. And then 20 years later, we're gonna hear like, oh yeah, I walked into the bathroom and found this lottery ticket on the ground, and it just so happened,
You have no idea. But if you hang out with me for a while, you start to see it. Because it rubs off. And no, it's the opposite of domino. If you hang out...
I believe it. My partner's sister is kind of one of those people. Like, good things just happen to her. And the two of us, it's the opposite. So you guys are really sucking out all of the good for the rest of us. Be more charitable with your luck, please.
I don't know. Well, a friend of mine, who's a psychiatrist, who I knew for a very long time, they actually explained it. They're the most realistic. They said it's not necessarily you're lucky. It's that you spot opportunity very quickly and take advantage of them, is what they said. And I believe that. That's a little bit more realistic, but...
See, I believe in luck. There's just
I completely believe in luck. I
luck.
completely believe in.
I believe it's probably a combo effect that makes you seem extra lucky, but...
I totally believe in it.
It's a naming magic, true naming. Because Stephen, right? You've said this before, but the Glicker is good, like good lucker,
Yes,
right? It comes from that.
It comes from my family name
like
of luck.
literally, not
literally.
a joke.
No, literally, my family supposedly has good luck and running in the family. Like no kidding. Well, that's what Glicker. It's from German, from lucky. So.
Oh, it's German. Okay. I was
Yeah.
like, if it was Irish.
It's from the German.
No, it's from
root.
Gluck. So.
Gluck.
Yeah. So supposedly very lucky my ancestors. So who knows? Who the hell knows?
Yeah, I read a really interesting book. Whenever I was doing research on like a luck mechanic and stuff on Vagabond, and it's a book called The Myth of Luck, and it's just kind of like exploring the philosophy of what luck is. And they have an equation in there that I was like, it's like the thesis statement for like the book. It's luck equals performance minus skill, and I was like, ooh, I like that. Like how good you were able to do a thing and how trained you were in doing the thing. I was like,
I think I struggle with that because how can you truly divide that out? These are the kind of books I love. I'm like, philosophy classes were what I took for fun. Yeah. So I'm like, this is my kind of conversation.
Yeah. I love it was an interesting read. I mean, like, I'm one of those guys who, like, I guess in college, like Aristotle, I was like, oh yeah, that's my dude. Like, I just love the fact that he could like put classifications on everything. I was like, yes, sorting, that makes sense to me.
Yeah, I also enjoy categorization, but then I will then go back and argue and be like, actually, I don't believe this one, and nothing in the world makes sense, and that's okay. My partner calls me an optonihilstentialist. That is my brand is optimism plus nihilism and a little dash of existentialism sometimes if I'm feeling generous about the universe. But very, very happy nihilism.
Luck is in my blood along with tiny possums. So
well, there you go. If we made a Steven character in Vagabond, which has luck as one of the stats, we could just put all of our stat points into luck. Get that matrix where you can have like one really high one or like a few really high stats and just put them all to luck and see what happens.
The Glicker model. Yeah.
I love this. I really want to see this play.
You'll see. When I first met Derek and we played a game of Oath, and in Oath you all fight each. It's like Risk, but with more diplomacy and more cool stuff. and it was 6 people playing, and all 5 of them ganged up on me, and I still beat them back, and they couldn't believe it, because it's like Risk. It's like you're literally rolling dice, and every time I was beating them, and they couldn't believe it. It was like I went through like 25 of their armies and just destroyed everyone, and then I'm trying to think. And then whatever. It happens a lot. It happens sometimes. So frequently that it's like I don't even notice it. Kelsey saw it when we were playing. She couldn't believe it. We did a live play at Origins, and she couldn't believe it. But whatever. We'll see. Just hang out with me. You get good stuff.
Maybe some of the luck will rub off.
You get good stuff. Good stuff will happen. You get like picked. My daughter, like we go to, like if we went to Mythbusters live, and when my daughter was only like 8, and then Jamie and Adam were picking someone from the audience, and they picked my daughter, and she went up, and so like that sort of stuff always happens. Like whenever they're like, oh, who would pick it? I'm always picked for the audience, like constantly. You go to Disney World, they're like, oh, who's a pick? I always get picked. It's all that stuff. So.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun.
Yeah, I think it's just that energy.
You said Mythbusters, and that just appealed to 12-year-old Taryn, like sitting there on Sunday afternoon with my dad, just watching.
Oh, I love Mythbusters.
Jamie and Adam launch a car into a brick wall, and
I'm Mythbusters live,
it's
and
my brand of science.
Yeah, my daughter loved it, and we brought her. And then on top of that, this is what's so funny. Is they said, okay, let's take pics. They wanted everyone to take out their phone, and they were using my daughter and another girl they picked up, and they posed them looking like they were in a giant fight, and my daughter was holding like Adam back, and then the other kid was holding back Jamie, and then they're like, okay, everyone take a picture and post this and tweet it. So I have like 500 pictures of my daughter, because then I went and like found the tag of Mythbusters. I downloaded every single one. So on top of that, it's like not only do I have it, but I have like 500 pictures of her doing this. So
that's so funny. That's so cute, though.
I told you, right place, right time. Happens all the time. All right, let's pick a winner. Yeah. Wow, Karen really talks. I forgot how much he talks. I like only do 2-hour streams. He does like 4-hour streams. Like, yeah, I'm like
we're here to entertain.
I'm an amateur compared to you.
All right,
Steven, you say that Taryn talks, but I think that you still talk the most, and even since the time that Taryn.
Well, get timers. People underestimate how much time they talk and think women talk more than they do by a significant amount.
No,
because I'm already chatty. I'm admittedly chatty. I know this.
I talk a lot.
I always just think it's interesting, the perception of like.
Yeah, the sociology is wild of some of the things that people just don't see and don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm a New Yorker. So
you've got a book to give away, right?
Yes.
Let's see if your luck has rubbed off on any of our viewers.
Well, one person gets it.
Everybody else is unlucky. Sorry.
I know they
got it from me and Stephanie.
No, it's anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world, as long as you can get mail. I don't care. As long as I can mail it to you, I don't care where it is.
What if they can't get mail?
Then you can't. I can't get you the book if you can't get mail.
I'm gonna play the announcement music.
Oh, you have announcement music?
Okay. Ready? You got the name. You got the name.
Yes.
All right. Ready?
Here it comes.
Winner.
I don't hear it.
It's getting canceled. It's getting canceled. I hear it a little.
It's getting canceled.
Oh wait, it does. Wait, it says playing music, and it just okay. You know what? I
canceled it a little. I heard. If
you get a little closer, it might work
in the background.
Well, okay.
It's very cute.
I also know how bad it is to bring a ukulele out in a YouTube video.
No.
So,
I love ukuleles.
I'm pushing it
cool.
I can bring on my kazoo.
If I could barely hear it, it was like a do-do-do-do-do-do.
Oh, now I hear it. Joseph Bedard, Bedard. Joseph, are you still here?
Are you here, Joseph?
Are you still here, Joseph? You have to still be here, by the way.
Uh-oh.
Are you there, Joseph?
This happened yesterday. I also gave out a book 2 days ago. I gave out a book. And they were not here. Someone is calling me, and it literally says United States. The United States is calling me.
That's what mine had the other day. I said
United States is calling.
Yes, the United States is calling me.
United States of America versus Stephen Glicker.
Yeah, my partner always says that I'm a sleeper agent because I mess up idioms all the time. Like I fuse them together. Like instead of cool your jets and hold your horses. I say chill your horses. And I read a lot, so it makes like no sense that I do this. Like there's really no reason.
Well, by the way,
if
Joseph, I give Joseph a few more minutes, and Joseph Bedard, if you're not here, then I choose someone else.
No.
So
no, give it till the end of my anecdote. But yeah, that's what. Now when it says United States is calling me, it's further proof that I'm a sleeper agent waiting to be activated.
Have you seen Boondock Saints?
Yes.
You know the bartender in there who mixes up idioms. He's like, people in glass houses sink.
Yep. That's every time I rewatch that, anyone with me will be like,
I gotta re-roll. Give him a little bit longer. Give him a little longer, but that's why
I've never been called by the United States, but I was getting spam calls like really, really, really constantly. After moving to Maryland for like the Senate primary, they were just calling me over and over and over again. It was more spam calls than I've received in like the last 10 years combined. I know that that's what it was, even though I didn't pick all of them up, and even though I said no political calls on my phone, because they all stopped after that primary was over.
Yeah, I get like 20 a day, and it's always the robocalls because I get to like, and I made it a little gag like on my stream where like if I get one, we just mess with them. And it started suddenly getting into where like they kind of just knew a little bit too much info about me. And I was like,
oh no,
I can't do this on stream anymore, guys. I'm sorry.
That's scary.
Oh yeah. Well, like, I mean, anybody can you can pretty much find kind of whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
If you're like a bit more public online. Like, I mean, one of the ways I found out is because like I used to like do guitar lessons 10 years ago and had a public listing that was on like Craigslist and found out that like that was returned to me as a way that some scammers were getting a hold of my phone number. And I was like, oh, cool.
Right. That's terrifying.
I just never answer my phone.
That is now my new pro tip. My phone stresses out my partner so much because it's all just, I don't know how well you can see it. It's all just little red things. All of it. Red notifications everywhere.
Yeah, the other day, Linda was saying to me, just like, you're not going to check any of these things. I was like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's 11,000 emails, notifications for my Gmail. I'm like,
yeah, that sounds about right.
No, I can't. I can't.
No,
I'm 10,603, so we're really close on my Gmail. We're real close.
Oh, here we go.
I did my semi-annual clear out. So
by the way,
I'm
it
at
says
4,000 like a responsible adult.
Expedia wrote me, hello, Stephen Glicker. We're confirming your stay in our luxury 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom penthouse downtown Indy with balcony city view apartment. There you go. So
there you go.
I got it if it was really cheap too.
Here's my question: Did Joseph?
No, he did
lose
not.
His chance?
Nope, he lost.
Did he lose his chance?
Yeah, I mean, I gave him 5 minutes. Joseph Bedard, last call. This happened yesterday too.
Oh.
Okay, let's see.
Well, it's okay because someone cast.
I know this person's here. I randomly chose there.
So.
I just saw them. They know they're here. So
wait, do we have another one?
We've got another one. Here comes the next one. This person I know for a fact is here because I saw them chatting. They actually have a very cool name. Schizosaurix Rex. Schizosaur Rex. Wow, that was really good.
Schizosaur Rex like a couple seconds ago.
I know, I just saw him.
Definitely, unless they left at like the worst possible moment.
Schizosaur Rex, which is a very cool name.
They didn't loot.
If he left, then that's just, there he is. There he is. So I would call it out, but part of the thing is you got to work for it. Okay, I can't give that easy. I got to because I could just put your name in and say you won, but you got to do a little work here. He's here. All right, Skexor, send me an email. Just send it to Steven at rollforcombat.com or help or contact, any of those. Everything goes to me. So just any of that, just send me your address and then send me a link to your YouTube so I can double check it's you. That's all. That's it. That's all you need to do. And I'll put it in the mail tomorrow. So it's too late here. The mail's
I'm not sure how much longer you guys are thinking about going, but I actually have something I also need to go get to.
No, I'm gonna go.
This seems like the perfect way to end the stream.
Oh, okay.
Handing out the free free book, and it's 5:30.
That's right. You're going to get your own very own Crown of the Kobold King. Oh, that's the wrong book.
Actually, Steven, somebody in the chat said that they wanted one of the other books from the shelf, like Crown of the Kobold King.
Well, there's a lot of books up here that are very hard to get.
Like that gold trimmed shadow.
Yeah.
That one's impossible to get. But even I have all my Fabula Ultima books are very hard to get. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and again, if anyone likes Shadow Dark, please come watch us judge the Things on Dungeon Masterpieces show at 7 on Saturday.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good time.
I'm going to be playing Shadow Dark with Stephanie a few days after that. I don't know if that's being streamed or anything. I'm not sure.
When are you playing? Aren't you traveling with me?
No, I'm not traveling for you until after that. I'm playing on Labor Day, Steven.
For Monday.
In fact, it was originally a different day, but then Stephanie couldn't make it. So then it was going to be moved to Tuesday, and I was like, well, that's the Kickstarter. So we moved it to Labor Day.
He'll just play in the plane, Steven.
Yeah, there we go.
That's what we haven't seen yet, actually.
I forgot about that. Just play on the plane.
Yeah.
Is that so much to ask?
I don't know.
Imagine doing that. You get seated next to a guy that's just sitting there like, rolling dice. Like,
I'd lose it. I don't have this anymore.
I play video games.
Magic missile at the darkness, and they just like call out on their headset while you're on the plane, and they're like,
I'm too embarrassed. I'm too embarrassed.
I opened the tome of Asarak, and
I'm way too.
I'm too
embarrassed
power of
I can't even imagine someone getting a flightless ban because they were playing RPGs on the plane.
I think now my goal is going to be to make my row mates play an RPG with me. I'm going to be like, hey, you guys, you made the mistake of talking to me. Want to play a game?
Now, if you try to do it on the plane, I'll run you in a modern game, Minecraft game, and then you'll be like, okay, so I'm going to put a bomb in the cockpit, and then the air marshal is just going to come on over and be like, excuse me?
I'd lose it. I'm so afraid of flying. If I heard something like that, I'd immediately I have fight response, not flight response. So I'm I would go pummel someone and be like, no, I'm going to live till I'm past 100, guys. But, okay.
All right. Are you going to say?
Have to get going.
I know. Steven's like, all right, I got to play the straight man here. Everyone's.
It never happens. I'm never the straight one. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm losing control of my own. It never happens. Except when Jess is
he
here.
even has little cartoons made of it that shows me with being the straight man, and then shows Steven going.
Am I afraid of being seen as a nerd for the normies? No, but my friends in Manhattan would wear their dice on their belts on the New York subway. But this is in the 80s and the 90s. And they would proudly walk around like that. I'd be like, yeah, I'm a little too cool for that. I'm not going to do that. But
although it's a good conversation starter, I'm someone who I will talk to 500 strangers a day. So I'm like, what's that?
Yeah, I lived in that's when I lived in Manhattan. You don't want to, these are not people you want to talk to most of the time.
That's what I've been told. And other people are right. Once again, I'm from Chicago. I'm moving back.
Chicago's Chicago and New York. Very similar.
Sometimes you talk to the wrong stranger and you're a little sad about it.
Similar. Chicago's actually much rougher than New York, so I would say you definitely have
but I don't think either of them's that rough.
Now
you guys
it
have
is.
the snapping, singing greasers and stuff, though.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
the important part. I'm really good at snapping.
About New York, I know it has a reputation for the strangers you find being really mean, but people
I never
did
said
a
they were mean.
Sociological study.
No. They're not mean.
Where
They're
they
weird.
went to some of the biggest cities across the world, London, New York, a lot of other places, and they did things where they intentionally made it look like they needed help to see if someone would help them or other things like that, and the New Yorkers turned out to be some of the kindest, most helpful people. I may not have been number one, but it was very high up there, worldwide across all those cities that you could find. And they were the stereotype is that New Yorkers will just ignore you or will be mean to you, but they were actually really good.
We're very nice. So yeah, like Low knows because he's a New Yorker and a Met fan. Just busy, fast, minding our own business. Right. We're always busy. We're always rushing. Yeah. We always have somewhere to be, and it's like and we're always trying to get there as quickly as possible. So you never relax, especially in your Manhattan. You're just never relaxing. It's never like unless you're in Central Park, you're just not like wandering. Okay, it just doesn't happen. So, but no, yeah,
I don't wander anywhere. That's not efficient.
No, it's
optimize your life.
I do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this was a long chat.
Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for being on. The chat kept saying that they loved having you guys on. Like,
yeah, thanks, chat. Except for the one person that was mean to me.
I'm just gonna,
just one.
You gotta be mean.
Yeah, there was one. There always.
Oh,
is.
I saw that. Yeah, you know
I'm
what?
a divisive personality.
If you don't have people getting mean to you, then you're not doing it right.
Oh, trust me, Stephanie. I'm right there with you. All right.
Divisive sees
the only person no one hates is Mark.
Yeah, it's because Mark's sweet.
No one hates.
That's what happens when you're a nice person.
There's people out there who don't like me. I've seen some things in the comments. I've seen some things in the comments.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, that's the internet. The internet is.
Yeah, let's start a little TTRPG drama with Mark here, though. Like that's the way that we're gonna go. Yeah. Who are we gonna pick Mark to beef with?
Oh my gosh. Who else is super nice? I feel like everyone's.
No, don't do that. That's not nice.
You gotta manufacture more drama, guys.
People sometimes have trouble with the fact that like I'll take a middle ground position instead of taking.
You always take a middle ground.
Instead of taking one of the extreme positions, and sometimes that can get me in trouble with people who are like Mark is taking the cowardly middle ground and is not willing to stand like all the way on one side on this one.
He is a coward.
Oh God, chat just said Bob World Builder.
Bob World Builder. That is. You guys are both very similar. You are both very similar. You guys. Well, middle ground, Mark.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on.
Sure.
This was so much fun.
Are you gonna do the thing, Mark?
Oh yeah. I mean, I guess Steven wants me to. So until next time, if you want to battle the zoo, you have to roll for combat. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week with Kelsey.
Bye.
Listen up, Dungeon Masters. Your players are falling asleep at the table. What? Your wizard is going to use catapult to throw rocks at a monster again? How about instead of that, the wizard covers their body in rocks and hurls themselves? Now you're thinking like a badass using Battlezoo Bestiary, Elemental Storm. Filled with over 150 innovative elemental monsters, new elemental spells, and the monster parts system, allowing you to craft weapons, armor, and magic items from the creatures you slay, infusing elemental magic into them with 20 unique elements. Sure, there's classics like air, earth, fire, and water, but there's even weirder elements like music, space, and time. Doctor Who, Doctor You.
Wait, I'm a player, not a dungeon master. Why should I give a shit?
Well, WotC, how about a brand new character archetype, the Monster Hunter? Climb on creatures, target specific body parts, and weaken them. Or just grab a small monster and use their attacks against the big one.
Ooh, you sold me at big ones.
Best of all, this archetype can fit along any class. Fighter Monster Hunter? Duh. Monk Monster Hunter? Sure. Wizard Monster Hunter? Well, it'll set the difficulty up, but go right ahead. Elemental Storm is filled with over 250 pages packed with stunning illustrations, detailed rules on the monster parts system, and so much more for your Pathfinder 2e and D&D 5th edition games. Click on the link below or head on over to kickstarter.rollforcombat.com to secure your copy of Battlezoo Bestiary Elemental Storm today, and turn your table from slow and crunchy to fast and furious.